Hello, everybody. This is A7X Fan Ben here with God Mason. This is
Hello.
episode number 12 of the Pirate CSG podcast. And today we're going to talk about South China Seas for the next set review. It was the fifth set released, came out in 2006. It's one of the better sets, as you'll find out if you don't know it well. And what do you think about this set, God Mason? Do you like it?
I think it's really hard to get my hands on, and I never thought I'd have anything close to a complete set. But as a whole, it is one of the better sets, I think. It doesn't suffer from the lack of good-named crew the way Revolution does, although it probably doesn't have as many outright great ships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
Probably.
this set a lot. It's become one of my favorites. I got really lucky on eBay in 2014. I found it got really pricey. I ended up paying like $150 for it, which I didn't want to, but the lot was really high quality, all unpunched, and it ended up containing most of the set. So for that price, I thought it was a good deal, and I don't regret it at all because it's become one of my favorite sets. I've enjoyed playing the ships. Like you said, it is really tough to get. It's the rarest set, objectively. It's definitely the rarest set by far for the most part.
Mysterious Islands might have a word with you on that.
I think, for me, Frozen North has historically been tougher to get than MI, but...
Well, Frozen North has been on Hills Wholesale for years now.
That's the thing, too, and MI was really not that tough to get or expensive. When I got back into the game, like 2010-11, I got 36 packs of MI for like $27.
Oh, okay. So I guess at one point it was probably pretty worthless.
Yeah, it used to be a much more common. I remember because that deal I got was to Card World. David Adams CardWorld.com was having like a blowout clearance sale or something on pirate stuff before they recently just got stuff. And ironically, they just got some SCS in, so South China Seas. But yeah,
so they're asking quite a lot of money for.
Yeah, it's like $7 a pack, but on eBay, the historical average is $8 a pack. I'm pretty sure for my spreadsheet. So yeah, so it's really expensive either way. But all right, yeah, let's get right into it. I'll do. Any other thoughts or no? I'll just
not really. No. Well, actually. Not actually related to the South China Seas topic at hand, but you mentioned Mysterious Islands at one point sort of being the crap set that everybody's getting rid of. I feel like maybe Rise of the Fiends may be going that way, because it used to be dirt cheap, and now it's not as common.
Yeah, Rise of the Fiends and Fire and Steel, usually somewhat common and cheap, but I feel like those two were cheaper and more common back when those Fairfield boxes were out back in like 2012 or whenever it was. Got like 20 packs for $20 or whatever. But yeah, that was a great deal. But since those have disappeared, Rise of the Fiends and Fire Steel haven't been quite as common and cheap, but still not great sets, of course.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, though.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, so let's get right into it. So the first ship, number 001, Jade Rebellion flagship of sorts, the Grand Dynasty. For such a cool name, Grand Dynasty, and being the first ship in the set, it's pretty underwhelming. I think with this one and the other two ships with S-base move that we'll see here in a second, of the 3 6-masted junks with such a slow base move, I think they could have afforded to double that speed to S plus S, and it still wouldn't be overpowered. I think it would have just been a good change to make. But as is, the Grand Dynasty is maybe the worst of the 5 6-masted junks that Jade's got, and really just not that good overall.
Yeah, I agree with you. The armament is nothing special, especially for a ship of the size. The ability is kind of bleh.
Yeah.
It's slow as heck, and it's not particularly cheap.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot going for it, really.
Yeah, and its crew links aren't amazing either.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I did see it used in conjunction with a couple ships that had the same ability, because a lot of Jade ships have that ability.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I did see it used in one of the most recent games I played. I don't remember which. Sorry, hiccup. But it didn't actually do all that well.
Yeah.
Which is probably no surprise to you.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, it's okay, but nothing special, really.
Yeah. I think we can move on to Grand Temple then, which which reappeared later in the series in another set as one of the better gunships ever released. But this version is significantly more expensive, and I'd say the ability is a bit overpriced, but aside from that, it's all right.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. Yeah, the reverse captain has always been overpriced, but overall, it's still one of the best gunships they got, partly because of a lack of quantity, but this one's good quality no matter what. So, yeah, I like this version a lot, too. It looks a little, I think it looks cooler than the English version, too. It looks really cool.
I agree with you, yeah, because the English version is just this kind of generic teal.
Yeah. The next one, Grand Mountain. This is another 6-masted junk with solid cannons, a little bit better than the Grand Dynasty, but the speed is only S, so you can't really do a lot with it.
And it has a faction ability.
Yeah, the ability is
it's a meme now.
A little bit worse than the Grand Dynasty, so I don't really mind the Grand Mountain. I think she's kind of, I don't know, she's kind of like a weird, like, sentimental favorite of mine. I don't really know why. I think it's because I feel guilty using the Grand Temple or the Grand Path against new players. So when I brought my, like, traveling collection to college, I wanted to have at least one 6-masted junk. So I often took the Grand Mountain so I wouldn't feel as bad about using the other ones against people who have only opened, like, Ocean's Edge packs and stuff like that. But yeah, realistically, the Grand Mountain's not real special. Slight upgrade over the Grand Dynasty, but nothing too great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. It is 1 point cheaper, and the armament's a tiny bit better, but aside from that, it doesn't really make up for it anywhere else because its ability is just that much worse.
Yep.
All right. Grand Wind, I think it's my turn to kick this one off, that is.
Yep.
It's not actually an amazing ship. It's really slow. It does have a really big hold.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess an okay ability. Although the only time I think I've ever seen this ship used, interestingly, is like some sort of Nemo's Plans and Poseidon's Breath special fleet.
Oh, nice.
I think you've probably seen that one. It might even be yours, for all I know.
Yeah, I don't think I made a fleet like that, quite like it, but yeah, it's funny. This one, I kind of like the Grand Wind. I'll always maintain that she can be a cargo ship, like a gold ship. She's not going to be a runner, you know, she's not fast enough for that definition. But I kind of like this one. I pretty much like all the 6-masted junks. The Dynasty and the Grand Mountain are probably my least favorite. This one's never going to fight well, but I think with the right crew, she can be reasonable, because the link to Sai that he links to all Jade ships, so that's why you see the link so many times for him. But he's an SAT crew, and the Grand Wind has reroll built in. So with him and a helmsman, you can go 4S, like, you know, a decent amount of the time, and then you still have 5 spaces left over. So the Jades don't really have. It's pretty much the best, like, super durable Jade option for gold. So it's not a ship to totally discount, but yeah, the speed just holds it back so much. So the next one, Grand Path, was a really great one, on par with the Grand Temple. This one is slower and has shorter range cannons, but it's cheaper and has more cargo.
And more accurate guns.
Yeah, slightly better ranks. And then I consider the Grand Path like a super short range brawler, because it has all S range guns. It's just brutally devastating, all rank 2, +1 to board, so you're going to be up and close with the guns anyway, so you might as well board. You can get Dragon Eyes on board to capture crew. Got a lot of cargo to use, like specialists that can only shoot with an S, so Grand Path's just a brutal gunship to be used at very short range, and just board and blast away at point blank. So,
yeah, it's almost unbeatable at boarding, because, you know, once you've dropped the die, the base roll is going to be 8, which is as high as any 2-mast ship without a bonus goes. And it's got incredible firepower. It's got a nice, pretty cavernous hold, really. It's got a high point limit, so you can afford to put the expensive Jade crew that exist onto this ship.
Yeah, it's great overall.
Yeah, I really like Grand Path, and if I used a 6-masted junk, that'll probably be the first one that I use.
Yeah, I think, real quick, a lot of people like to compare the Grand Temple. The Grand Temple, I would say, is generally a better striker, but the Path is a little more flexible and, like, slightly more consistent, I guess, and cheaper, of course. So.
And probably a little bit scarier because it has more accurate guns.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I'll hop on a Divine Wind now, and this is another case of, like I said, that ability appearing a bunch on Jade ships.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad ship, but it's not super special at 10 points. I mean, it does have solid armament and a good hold space, but it's not super fast.
Yeah, this is the type of ship that bores me because it just doesn't. I don't know. Nothing really stands out. There's nothing, above average. Maybe the artwork, but that doesn't affect gameplay. The cargo is solid, but other than that, just nothing to get excited about, unfortunately. I would say the opposite about the next one, the East Wind. This one is weird to me. Has good speed. The cannons are mostly good, but it's got a 4L in the middle. It has a treasure ability to trade treasure between Wild Islands. What I like to do with this one is run it as like kind of like a subpar hybrid. I just put a captain on because the speed is decent, and then I have 2 cargo, reasonable cannons, and then the trading ability. So I try to maximize the 2S guns, and then leave space open because you don't really need a helmsman necessarily. It'd be nice, but and then you can still have cargo left over to maybe use that treasure trading ability. So I think the East Wind is kind of a surprise hybrid. She's not a great ship, but I think she's pretty interesting and kind of cool, actually.
I mean, she is reasonably well armed and durable and quick, I guess, for her point cost. But the sort of lack of focus that I see would probably deter me from using her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. Yep. Yeah, it's tough to use her, but yeah, I just do a captain, nothing else usually.
I'll jump onto Sea Wind now, and this has an ability that I think we can agree is one of the most overpriced in the entire game.
Yep.
I think we can agree that she does make an excellent gold runner, if an expensive one.
Yeah, definitely. I like using this ship as a gold runner, usually empty. I'm using her in Vassal Campaign Game 3, the American version from OE, as a kind of a gold runner hybrid type thing. Yeah, this ability is overpriced. The only really time you'd want to pay for it full cost is like on a bigger ship in like a campaign game with a lot of ships around, because it is good in like tight battles with a lot of ships involved, but in regular games it's pretty much total garbage.
Yeah. Which ship is it? Scepter that has this ability as well?
I think it's the opposite one. I think it gives +1 to ships with an S. It's like gives rather than takes.
Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I misread this ability.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm giving a bad review.
Yeah, I mean, it can be confusing, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would still agree that this is not such a hot ability at all.
Yeah, anything under like 100 points, it's almost total garbage, but when you get a big battle going, it can be solid. The next one, the Typhoon. This one, it's just not that great. The cannons are just not very good. The price is too high for the speed and cargo SS with 4 cargo. Reroll ability is nice, but I mean, it's not going to really make the ship that much better because she doesn't really excel in anything in the first place. So.
The only way she's above average is her cargo space, but everywhere else is average or below.
Yeah.
She is a good-looking ship, though.
Yeah, kind of. I've never liked the way she looked for some reason, but I like the other ones better. It's kind of dark, but.
Yeah. Speaking of dark, and actually we're getting to what is probably one of my favorite Jade Rebellion ships and Spanish ships, but we'll get to that in a later set review.
Yep.
Virtuous Wind is an awesome 3-master ship. Incredibly well-armed, fast, great hold space, useful ability. Tad expensive for a 3-masted ship, but it's awesome at everything it does. You can just throw a captain or Katsura-chan on board.
Yep. Yeah, I love this one too. It's fun to use. Yeah, this is what I call like a stacked ship. It just great stats and abilities in every category. So there's nothing really to complain about. And probably their best overall hybrid, I would say, in general. Yeah, just a really amazing ship. Just such a cool one. I remember I talked right before we started recording about I played a 10th anniversary of South China Sea's game in February 2016 because the set came out in February 2006, and I played against my friend at college, and he was when I introduced him to pirates, I gave him like a choice of my ships to use before I had given him his own stuff, and the Spanish version of the Virtuous Wind quickly became his favorite ship. And I think I lost a few games because of that. So I almost like regretted like showing them the ship, but yeah, it did well for him, of course. So yeah.
And the Spanish version is, I would say, arguably better because of the bigger crew selection. But since that's an Ocean's Edge ship, we'll talk about that later. Even though we definitely could talk about it now, I think we'd kind of eat up a half hour waxing on that ship alone.
Yeah. It's a tiny bit slower, but yeah, better crew is nice too. The Clearwind is next. This one, similar but slightly more interesting than the Divine Wind. Has that same ability, +1 hand rolls against a ship that was already shot at by a friendly ship this turn. It's basically the same ship, but with L range cannons instead of 2 S's and 1 L. Still rank 3, but yeah, the Clearwind, in my opinion, slightly less boring, but still not all that good or interesting.
Yeah, better, but still not awesome. It's still one of those ships that you just... It's at its best when it's paired with a very specific strategy. And unfortunately, that strategy is not one you can really execute in small games.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Sea Serpent is next. We're getting into the 2-masted ships now. Sea Serpent is... it's an okay 2-master, except it's made way too expensive by an overpriced ability.
Yeah, I think I like using it as like a specialty ship for smoke pot specialist, smoke pot shot, like an escape ship. But again, that's not, you can't really do that in a smaller game. I mean, yeah, it's just too pricey. You're right. It does have good speed and very good cannons, but it's tough to use. So yeah.
Plus, that whole escape smoke pot strategy thing, I've run into a couple of problems while trying to formulate how that works. Because you can't do that based on a free action given to you by a captain after moving and shooting. So basically, the only way to escape is to start your turn
with a shoot. Yep.
Yeah, which...
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I wish it would work better, like we were talking about multiple ships that had that ability in the Barbary Coast review. And unfortunately, things didn't quite work for multiple of those.
Yeah.
If you look at that strategy. But well, who's to start Sea Lion? I've forgotten.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm up. I just didn't know if you had anything else to say. This one, Sea Lion, it's not very good. I mean, it just doesn't excel at anything. The cannons are a little worse than average. Speed and cargo are just average. It has that Carbon Charlie ability to gain cannons by eliminating coins at your home island, which is great for HMS Dreadnought in like a huge game. But the Sea Lion
is for a 5-mast ship.
Yeah, the Sea Lion is too small and fragile to really pull that off, especially if you keep ramming damage. The ship is going to be sunk real quick. So it's not a fitting ship to have that ability. It would have been better with like maybe no ability and SL speed and 3L cannons or something like that.
I mean, every time I see this ability on a ship, I like to imagine somebody just putting 15 guns on it or something.
Yeah, like in CC1.
Yeah, getting to sink Zeus with Sea Lion with a single salvo would be really funny. Yeah, especially if you could buff every last one of those guns with, who knows, Roberto Santana or some other role ability.
Yep.
But, I'm just being silly because that would be...
You could get Chang Pao aboard because he's Jade, and then you have Captain Helmsman and Chang Pao for 9 points. That'd be worth it.
Oh, this is getting silly. I feel like Graham Chapman in a police uniform should walk in. Right, stop this podcast. This is getting silly. Okay, Sea Tiger. Once it loads up, that is. It's... You're talking about ships that aren't very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is basically the Jade Rebellion's version of Tiger from Revolution. Because there's nothing good going on here. The move is good, but everything else is bad.
I think it's okay as an empty Gold Runner. I have a soft spot for this one because I acquired the English version from Ocean's Edge, which is the same ship basically, just English. And the English don't have a lot of good gold runners, and my collection was smaller back then, so I still like this one as an empty gold runner. She's not too bad, but that's it though. You know, there's nothing else to do. Like, no, you shouldn't put crew aboard. The Jades don't have a flotilla to use with it. It's just an empty gold runner. There's nothing else to it. So
Yeah.
the next one is better though, and more flexible. The Sea Crane. This one, on the other hand, unlike a lot of the ones we just went over, this one's good in pretty much every way. It has very good speed, solid cannons, and then it has the +1 gold ability, the gold bonus, which is amazing. So this one is generally best as a gold runner. I would send her out empty, or maybe with a captain, because you got solid cannons, and then you still have 2 spaces left over, and then one of those coins gets the +1 bonus. So an okay little hybrid, if not a pretty solid gold runner for them.
I don't really use ships like this, but I can see it being a game changer sometimes. Obviously, it's no Banshee's Cry, but it probably shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah.
Sea Phoenix is not at all similar, even though I wanted to simplify things by saying she was. She actually has pretty good guns, a not very useful ability, but I mean, she's not an executioner, which you're going to hear me say at least a few dozen more times by the time we're done reviewing every set in the game. But she's about a rung or two below. You know, she's actually a pretty solid hybrid, if a bit slow.
Exactly, yeah, I think she's a good hybrid. The 4 cargo leaves space for Captain Helmsman, then 2 spaces left over, good guns, and then you could combine that ability with ramming to fill up the last 2 spaces with gold in one move action. So you board, hopefully you win the board, and then you randomly take the other coin. But yeah, it's a solid ship. I used it in a little Jade clone fleet for like a fleet challenge or something from a while back. So it's pretty nice. The next one is the Sea Duck. This one I've seen a ton of times. Lord Denton had this in his Pojo avatar, I think, or maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was somebody else. But so I didn't know what the ship was at that point. But then I found out about it later on. But the Sea Duck is, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe it's not famous to other people, but the cursed version is the same. It's a pretty good empty gold runner for the curse because they don't have gold options. But it's a fun ship. The cannons are decent, and then you can snipe. You can double the range and hit on a 6. Good speed, solid cargo, and I mean, it doesn't really have a good roll, but it's a fun ship, if not a great one.
I experimented with this ability a bit on the USS Destiny, I think it was. Maybe it's just called Destiny. But it's not actually a very good ability. I wish it was.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun if you start to mess with the rules surrounding range extension. Because I've got something that I'm working on that basically allows... I don't remember the name of the ship offhand. I'm sure you can guess which one, to basically extend its cannon range to 8L.
Yeah.
But you know, it would require a few rule extensions that I've already cleared with Wolf, so that'll be okay. Yeah. But Sea Duck is a not particularly awesome ship, although I'm sure she's a lot of fun to use.
Yeah, it's cool.
Admiral Yi.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, so this is the first of the turtle ships. And to open on turtle ships, I need to say that turtle ships are incredibly flawed by nature of being susceptible to basically instantly being disabled by one ram.
Yep.
So I play with a house rule where they can't be damaged.
Yeah, I like that.
Or no, it's not. It's not that they can't be damaged. They can take damage, but ramming damage is done to the turtle shell.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I do it. But I'm going to judge it based on the merits of being outside of that rule, and it's nothing special at all for a one-masted ship.
Yeah, this one I don't like. I've hardly used this one. It's just not really worth using. I think turtle ships are slightly overpriced, but we'll see. There's a couple good ones coming up. The next one's okay, Hansen Island. I think it's a tiny bit better. Can't be pinned, slightly more cargo. It's got a 2S cannon and 3 cargo, but this one's not not too great either.
Yeah, Hunts on Island is it slower than Admiral Yi?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, L
Yeah.
versus SS.
A slow one-masted ship. Nothing makes me cry like that.
Yeah.
Because you're just asking to get rammed.
Yep.
Speaking of asking to get rammed, Glorious Treasure with a name like that, you'd kind of expect to get boarded a lot. Although I would say, I should have segued into this by saying, speaking of ramming, because this is one of those turtle ships that I've found is actually a really cool niche use kind of ship, in that she's sort of a suicide ship.
Yeah.
Because I really like that ability. So what you can do with it is captain and helmsman, use it as just a ram and speed it into the biggest, nastiest capital ship that the enemy has. You'll knock down a mast, you'll kill one of their crew, and if you're lucky, your gun will hit.
Yeah.
I've used that to great success against, I think, HMS Endeavour.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
If you get really lucky, you could even succeed with the ram. So you have the total damage output from the one master
up to 3.
Three masts and 2 crew if you win the boarding, which is unlikely, but still. But yeah, it's a good ship. I know Xerix doesn't like these ships because they've annoyed him to no end in the past because his brothers have used them against him and things like that.
They're so much fun to use, though.
Yeah, they're evil little devils.
Oh, yes.
Quite effective. The next one is maybe the perfect turtle ship, the Noble Swan. It has the ability, it says, ramming cannot eliminate this ship's mast, which is perfect because we've talked about ramming takes them out usually. So that's an ability that all turtle ships maybe should have gotten. Maybe it could have been built into the keyword. That'd be cool. But it also has very good speed, SL, 2 cargo, and a 2S cannon. So just a very good little gunship with the right ability.
Yeah. The nice thing about this ability is that even, say, if you play with the house rule, this basically can be taken as it doesn't take ramming damage. And, even in the real game, it doesn't. Yeah. So this is basically something that has the durability of a 3-mast ship. It has SL move. It has a 2S gun, but it's only 6 points.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty solid ship. You can either go with Captain Helmsman, make it a really weird but cool little warship, or you can do one of their flavors of named captains.
Yeah.
I like Noble Swan quite a lot. Proud Tortoise, again, if turtle ships were immune or at least more resistant to ramming, this would be an awesome ship. Yeah. But as is, it's just kind of.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a nice defensive ability. It doesn't have immunity to ramming, but at least has some kind of defense. The cannon is great, very accurate at long range. This one in my campaign game, Command the Oceans, this one has been pretty lucky. It always seems to match up against curse ships that have only L-range guns. I'm using no ramming damage at all, regardless of turtle ship in that game. So she's done pretty well in that game. Because I don't really like ram damage on a whole, but we could talk about that another time. But yeah, this one's done well in my campaign game, but definitely pales in comparison to the Noble Swan. All right, so with that, we look into the named crew. So Zhengli Quan is the first one, 5 points. He has the stack ability and then trading treasure between wild islands. So a very good crew, just like Don Pedro Gilbert, the Pirates God in Revolution. He's good on the Bauchuan to use her as a hybrid, especially with the treasure ship keyword. Other than that, there's not a ton of ships he's great on. Maybe the Virtuous Wind or the Grand Path. He's kind of like the perfect hybrid crew, but the Jades didn't really get a lot of hybrids. But any source of the stack ability, even at 5 points, will be a welcome addition to a minor faction that doesn't have a lot of named crew. So he's a very good crew, actually.
I'm not actually a fan of stack abilities because I know they're useful, but at the same time, I can't really stomach sacrificing stuff that I've spent points on just that easily. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's a Norseman. But the lack of focus on this, okay, it's got a gold running ability, and it's got sort of either a, it's got sack, which I already have mixed feelings about. I just don't think it's really, as I've said before, it's another thing that's just not really focused enough for me to warrant spending points on it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. All right, Shopping Sai, which is linked to basically every single Jade ship in the set, is, well, it's SAT and then a faction ability, but it's a SAT crew for, 5 points. I've seen worse.
Yeah. Kind of like Quan, it's a double action crew with something else tacked on, but when they have such a lack of named crew in general, it's still a very good one for them. And the Jades have pretty much the best named crew selection of all the minor factions. That they do have that distinction of the 4 minor factions, and this guy is definitely a big reason for it. And he actually got a wacky upgrade in Savage Shores. We can talk about that at a time. But
and actually, real quick, the fact that he's basically linked to every one of his factions' ships means he's a SAP crew that doesn't take up space, which I think justifies being 5 points.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's very flexible. There's a lot of good ships you could see usage on. I usually put him on the Grand Temple, but the Path, the Virtuous Wind would be great choices too. The next one pairs perfectly well with him. Got Sora-chan. She's got Captain and Reroll, which is perfect for the SAT ability of Sai. So I usually use them in conjunction on the same ship. But overall, this is another here's another very good Jade named crew. Unlike the other minor factions, they got named crew that were good. Like we saw the Corsairs got like John Ward and like Wesley and like these crew with abilities that just aren't very good. But the Jade's got most of the really good core named crew abilities. Despite not having quantity, they do have quality.
I think that while Katsura-chan is not super exciting, it can't be denied that both the captain ability and the reroll are very useful.
Yep.
So if you have points left over, upgrading from a captain to Katsura-chan on a bigger ship is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Miss Chang is just a basic 0-point reroller with a link to Cheng Pao and Grand Dynasty, so I think I can kind of skip over her.
Yeah.
Qian Ng is, I think that's how it's pronounced, is, I think, one of the only instances of this ability on a crew, if not the only, because this has the Asesino de la Nave ability where every time it hits, it eliminates a cargo, as in either a treasure or a crew. Every single time it hits. Expensive ability, but incredibly powerful on big ships.
Yeah, very powerful. I think they could have costed it at like 5 or 6 and it would still see usage. I mean, it's better than Fear, which they put at 6. It's way better than that.
And it's better than Reverse Captain.
Yeah. This one, I know Capitaine Cheval from the Caribbean set has this for the pirates on a crew, but I think he's one of only 2, I believe. But yeah, it's a really great ability. I like using it on the Grand Path, just blast ships apart. And a little trivia behind this, Qian Ng got his name directly from a WizKids employee because he was one of the he's a real person. I think he was one of the artwork designers, I want to say. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, this is directly named after one of the people who designed the sets and was obviously a part of the early sets here. So
that's really cool. Weird.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then there's a few other ones. There's probably ones I don't know about, but I know Eileen Bridget O'Brien. It's named after Tiffany O'Brien. There's probably more out there, but anyway. The next one, Cheng Pao. This guy's also 4 points. Gives another great combat ability. Basically just World Hater, +1 to cannon rolls against any non-cheater rebellion ship. So this one's fantastic. I like putting him on the Grand Path Temple, or the Baochuan. The Baochuan is probably the best ship, because I learned from Captain Mike that this ability is best used on ships with a lot of cannons, because for every additional cannon the ship has, you get the bonus on that. So it's most cost effective on larger ships. So a 10 master is perfect. So you can turn the Baochuan into a decent gunship to like a really scary one with this guy aboard.
Yeah, this is standard fare for the cost, but the link to Miss Chang, because I guess there is a big difference, is actually pretty important because that allows two really very good abilities to take up just a single space. Dragon Eyes is really, really expensive, but he's a captain with, I think, crew ransom ability. Yeah, which I guess it's good, but because of how expensive it is, and the fact that I think, didn't somebody get this ability for 8 points?
Yeah, Bonnie Peel, the Pirates.
Yeah, so this ability got 2 points cheaper one set later.
Yeah, exactly.
And I haven't used Bonnie Peel.
Yeah, he's good. Like some of the other stuff, I'll talk. I say this all the time, but he's better in bigger games, campaign games. In a 40-point game, your opponent's going to have a limited amount of expensive crew to use, and to even bring to the table in the first place. So to spend 25% of your build total on this guy, and expect a lot of crew captures is asking for trouble. It's not going to work out usually. But he just gets better and better as the game size increases, and as it gets bigger, he costs up. His big 10-point cost is a lower and lower percentage of your build total. So, anyway, I will have to point out the flavor text. I just randomly saw this because I'm looking at the artwork and I vaguely remembered in the back of my mind that he's kind of a weird guy. And the flavor text says the real name of Dragon Eyes is Kept by the Sea. Those who survive his attacks claim that he is really a dragon in human form, and his captives he takes, well, they're just food. So, pretty weird flavor text. Pretty kind of disturbing, but he's definitely a mysterious character. It'd be interesting if they released more sets if he had showed up at some point.
He's just Griffin.
Yeah, kind of like.
Alright.
Okay,
the Nameless.
The Nameless, linked to Dragon Eyes. +1 to boarding rolls. It's a nice compliment to Dragon Eyes' gold capture ability, but it should be 2 points instead of 4, so it's just grossly overpriced. I don't think I've used the Nameless. Maybe once in like a giant game, but it was just for the link. It wasn't even. I didn't even want to spend the points.
Yeah, they're ninjas, and you get a boarding bonus. It's a bit overpriced, although it is at least linked. Yeah, that's the only excuse we can give. Warlord Cavendish is actually a very interesting way. Already jumping on to the next piece because that's a simple one. Warlord Cavendish is a very interesting one because he allows pirate crew to use their abilities, and pirates have basically the best roster of faction exclusive abilities in the game. Aside from this, it's also a SAT crew. So I think those are, I guess for 5 points, this is actually almost as good as you can get.
This is a very good crew. Kind of a good complement to Sai, and even better for the most part, unless you're going to face the English. So, good on. He allows some wacky crew combinations on like really big ship like the Bauchuan, because then you can have SAT and then pirate crew on a 10-master. So it gets pretty crazy.
So you can throw on Hammersmith or variations on whatever else. I should pull up the thread, but
Emperor Blackheart, maybe all powerful or something.
Oh yeah, that too.
Compete with the Zeus. The next one, Sensei Zu.
Sensei Zeus.
He's like a recruiter. So 3 points, and when you reveal him, you get 2-point crew from outside the game. So it's just one of those. Why
does it exist?
Yeah, it's just rough. I played a ton of games, and I still have almost never seen where this would be useful, and I've almost never used it, and I wouldn't have reason to. It's just one of those things like maybe a hybrid that's looking for flexibility. You could flip him to get a shipwright, or if you're still fighting, get a cannoneer, or maybe
an oarsman if you're desperate,
or if you need, or if maybe I know it's tough. Like a helmsman on another ship dies in your fleet, and then you flip him to get a replacement that you then transfer or something. I don't know. It's just
it's cost effective to just choose what you want before the game. That's its problem. It's not cost effective, period.
Yeah, you're wasting a point and you're wasting a cargo space until you reveal him. So.
And Wait, oh, he does take up no cargo space from reveal. I guess you could. Okay, he's still not a cost-effective way of doing things,
No.
but he could be used in conjunction with SAC.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, he's not as good as 2 oarsmen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lee Quinn, I'm getting far away from my mic, is a point limit raiser for 0 points. I think we've already had our talk about that.
Oh, yeah. It was nice that they got one, though, because it makes them more competitive with the major factions. So.
Sort of that by default alone would have made them better than all the other minor factions.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say next, too, because they're the only minor faction to get a 0 LR +5 crew. So, yep.
Yeah, Corsairs have some pretty good ships. But the fact that the Vikings and the mercenaries didn't get one, aside from the other problems with the mercenaries and Vikings, helps make the Jade Rebellion better.
Yeah, he looks like the crew portrait. He looks like some modern guy. He doesn't look like somebody from like a long time ago in a way.
He's a time traveler.
Yeah, he looks like some businessman in like a Hollywood movie or something. I don't know.
He is.
Anyway, yeah, maybe he is. That's where his ability comes from. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's even based on a real life person too. I don't. Who knows?
Maybe.
Like yeah, probably not. But they get a fire pot specialist, which is good for the Jades. Well, the other factions got one too. But now we're into the pirates. So that was most of the Jade faction. The first pirate ship is the Lady of Scorn, which is a 5-master that just wastes points on broadside attack. And unlike the other great pirate 5-masters we've talked about, this one stinks in comparison. It's not total garbage, but it's quite close.
Yeah, the armament is subpar. The ability is terrible on any ship that has any 4-rank guns.
Yep.
And, I mean, I guess it has good cargo space, but it's not fast enough to really make use of it.
Yep.
It's not well armed enough to be a real dreadnought. It's not fast enough to be a hybrid.
Yep.
Okay. Feathered Hat, which I think I have like 6 copies of that I need to trade away.
Wow.
Feathered Hat is actually it's kind of like Obago, but a little bit better. Because it's faster, it's better armed, same price, same ability, but has less cargo space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely better.
I think that ability is probably a little bit underrated because it does allow you access to stuff like Qian or what's his name from Spain, the one that blocks the first hit each turn.
Oh, Joaquin Vega.
Yeah, Joaquin Vega. Yeah, you can put some really powerful abilities on the ship and turn what seems like an average ship into actually a pretty devastating one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Regardless of the ability, I like the speed, and I like that 2S cannon at the front. It's just begging to have a fire pot specialist assigned to it, especially at the bow, probably going to be the first shot of the shoot action. So it's a nice ship, has a nice green look, like some of the other ones from this, green set with the green cards. So I like it. The speed is the best asset, but it's pretty solid overall. The next one, the Black Heart. Not to be confused with the crew. This one has the word separated, so it's Black Heart, not Captain Blackheart.
What if you put a captain on the ship?
Yeah. I like this one a lot, actually. I think it's underrated. The speed is quite good. The 5 cargo has the reroll ability, so it's perfect for like an SAT crew or something like that. The guns really aren't too great, but I think it's a serviceable hybrid and an underrated one at that. So I've used her pretty effectively, actually.
I mean, you make a fair point. It kind of reminds me of, I want to say it's Shadow from Spanish Main, if I'm thinking of the right ship. Mm-hmm. This probably has a better ability. I don't remember, although worse cargo space, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too similar, but it's maybe similar in how good it is.
Yeah, I don't think I'll end up using it, although it probably does have pretty good use as a durable but still quick gold runner.
Yeah.
Bit pricey, though.
Yeah.
All right, after Blackheart comes Bloody Spear. And Bloody Spear is... Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a boring ship. It's not super fast. It's not super well armed. Doesn't have a fitting ability or a unique one. It has okay cargo space.
Yeah, I don't like this ship at all, and I'll talk about that in later sets too that have a lot. Some of the later sets have a lot of boring ships like this. It's just like boring in every way. Like +1 to boarding roll is super common. Everything else is average, like perfectly average. So, yeah. Oh well. And the artwork isn't good either. It's just like a brown everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's not good at all for this set, which had quite a lot of pretty ships.
Yeah, exactly. It's subpar for the set too, so it doesn't stand out. The Accused, I love. This one, crew can't be eliminated unless she sinks. A very good ability for a gunship. Linked to Bruce Gray, who is a world hater, to make those 2S guns even better at 1S. This is a 3-master, 4-cargo L move. Just really cool. I have a soft spot for this ship. Basically, all 3 of the Pirate 3-masters from this set I like quite a lot. My favorite is coming up soon, but this one's my second favorite. I think I made a fleet with just those 3 ships, actually. But yeah, in Command the Oceans right now, I tried to take advantage of the ability. I put Captain, Helmsman, Oarsman, and then Firepot Specialist and Musketeer. So then I have all 5 crew cannot be eliminated, which is really nice. And then I'm shooting off, 4 cannons, 3 of them ranked 2, 1 with a firepot. So it's a really cool ship I like a lot.
Yeah, I haven't given much thought to this ship until you started talking about it. And when you think about it, it does really have a lot of stuff going for it as a warship because it has a relevant ability, it has great guns, it has a reasonably low cost, a good crew link, and a decent cargo space.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only real weakness is the move speed, and you can just take care of that by throwing on a helmsman, and you've still got 9 points of space to play with.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this is a strong ship. Although the way you're talking about, I do wonder, Wolf, if you're listening, we have a question. And the question is, how do doctor or sort of crew saving abilities interact with sacrificing crew for an extra action? I'm sure this has been worked out before, but I'm
it doesn't
curious.
really work because you can't. With SAC, the crew has to stay eliminated, and since the ship says it cannot be eliminated unless she sinks, then it just can't. You essentially just can't SAC at all. And then crew that turn doctor crew that turn crew face down, that's just irrelevant because the ability, they're almost the same. So. Yeah. So it doesn't really work.
And the doctor thing, yeah, it is the same ability. Plus, it's a little overpriced.
Yeah, it's even worse. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I've never used a doctor. Yeah. But Madagascar, I'll jump on.
Oh my god.
Wait, what'd you come up with?
Oh, no, you should go to the doctor. You said you've never seen a doctor. So you should get checked out.
I get it. I also get Madagascar. No, I don't actually get Madagascar because it's an expensive ship with an overpriced ability, weak guns. Maybe you could use it as a gold runner, but there's still many better options.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just like it because the name is cool because there's a pirate hideout, or haven or whatever. The weird thing I like about Reverse Captain on some of these larger ships that can run gold is if you get attacked, you will hopefully have a cannon or 2 to shoot back with, so then you could actually use it against the attacker, shoot, and then move away with your gold. I mean, you're probably still not going to survive, but I think it's okay as a ship. Not great, and with a helmsman, it's quite good.
It's not a bad ability on a gold runner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and with a helmsman, it's got SLS speed, which is just great in general. So nothing great, but it's cool. The next one, so this concludes this pirate 3-masted trio from the set, which I love. Greed's Hammer, probably my favorite of the 3, although I do really like the Accused. The Greed's Hammer is definitely the best, though. This one has the +2 gold bonus ability, which I've already yacked about being game-changing and game-winning ability. Fantastic cannons, even better than the Accused, slightly better with an L-range gun. Same cargo point cost and speed, though, as the Accused, but just a considerably better ability. This one is tempting and cool to use as a hybrid. It's a little tough to figure out the right crew options, but even just Hammersmith with an oarsman would be a pretty good option. So it's a really cool ship.
Or Hammersmith plus Gentleman Jocard.
Yeah, that works too. Yep.
Yeah, that leaves you all the space. Yeah, Green Samurai is definitely a pretty solid ship, but you kind of do need to play with crew if you want to use this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost, for me, it's like the guns and the ability are both too good to use it as only a gunship or only a gold runner. Like, you almost have to use the hybrid, because if you don't, like, you're missing out big time on one of those two aspects of the ship.
Because as good as the ability is, the fact that everything else on the ship is also so good, it means that it is pretty tough to use it to its potential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plague of double duty. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Plague of the East is this is like a distinctly average ship with a not very fitting ability, high point cost, and I guess an above average hold space.
Yeah, it's not too interesting really. It's okay, but not very good. Yeah. The next one, Yarbrough's Revenge. This one's a little more interesting. Also has a gold type ability. Yeah. I guess I would put it. Well, yeah. I don't know. I guess that was slightly better. I don't know. Put a captain aboard and probably a helmsman, but then you don't have much space to take gold. It's kind of just like an overpriced like gold raider support gunship. So.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever use it, even though I've got it built in my collection. I won't use it unless I'm trying to lose. All right. Next round to Bandito. Oh, sorry, Bandito. Actually, I did actually try to say Bandito because it's not a good ship.
Oh, yeah. I think these ships are okay. I think we had this debate with Whisper last set. I think they're kind of underrated. But yeah, the Bandito, I know her quite well because she's in my American Pirates fleet, and that fleet has done remarkably well in both of the Vassal tournaments. So it's in the Bandito is actually part of one of the better fleets like ever tested in Pirates. So it's pretty good. But I mean, it's not the biggest reason that fleet is actually good. But I think I think these types of ships are underrated. And it's kind of that classic like Revolution type pirate ship look too. It looks nice.
It does.
Yeah. The Headhunter. We're into Pirate Crew now. This one is great. It's not the cursed version of the Guichuan. He actually had a version as a pirate before. A World Hater and Sack. So
for 6 points.
Yeah, wicked good crew abilities for a monster gunship like the Zeus or the Harbinger. Derek the Red is a clone that showed up in Frozen North, so the Pirates actually have 2 of these crew, which is crazy. Just shows how good the pirate named crew are. But yeah, he's got a link to the Black Heart, but it's okay. I'd rather use him on like a 5-masted super gunship though.
Yeah, it's again, I don't like the Sack ability, and I think they're better sources of World Hater. But for a lot of people that like these abilities, this is like an ideal crew, and I'm not actually sure which would be harder to get your hands on, Derek the Red or the Headhunter.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably Derek the Red, or probably the Headhunter. Sorry, but not by much. So yeah. He's got some pretty disturbing flavor text too. But yeah, this is a wicked good crew. Two of the best combat abilities in the game.
I don't think I've done his canon entry yet, probably because I haven't actually updated that wiki in way too long, because I've been a little bit busy.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna jump onto Calico Cat now.
Yeah.
Which is actually just the same as Katsura-chan, but for the pirates, it's just a captain and re-roll. I think we can agree that since that's a clone of the Barbary Coast version of Lady Baptiste, it's a value to jump further onward to Kanhoji Angria, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's okay. I don't know. I think I've used him once or twice now, but only in big games. You would never use this guy in a 40-point game. I mean, you can get the home island rating ability on El Phantasma for 4 points.
Whereas this is just its cost is inflated by a faction ability meme. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, and going back to Calico Cat, that was ironically one of the least useful versions of her. Not because they're not good abilities, but just because you can get those abilities so readily elsewhere. And you'd rather use the SAT version of Calico Cat for the most part, or of course the Ocean's Edge version, which is the best version.
Yeah,
We'll
which
talk about
is
that later.
magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken Geongria is way too expensive for a single coin's worth of Home Island rating. I'd much rather pay 1 point more and get the Revolution version of Devereaux.
Yeah, me too.
Here we are to Bruce Gray, who you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. He is just a plain world hater, but he's linked to Accused, which Ben pointed out as one of his favorite 3 master ships from the set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, world hater is always nice. Bruce Gray also goes well with the Zeus because you get, like with Chang Pao, like I said, 10 masters get this ability really cost effective because you get that +1 bonus on every single cannon. So when there's 10 of them, you really profit a lot. So Bruce Gray on the Zeus makes all those 3 S's turn into 2 S's, which is pretty nasty. So I'll move on to the English. HMS Lord Kettering, their 5 master from the set. This one's actually super average. Not one of those typical amazing Royal Navy 5 masters that we've talked about, and we'll see more of them. Super average overall, +1 against the Jade Rebellion, but I mean, not only is that a faction bonus, but they're not a faction that show up a lot, and they're super rare. Pretty much the rarest faction in the game, so...
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, I thought this was a long ship.
Oh, USS Kettering is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a link there, because they have made some interesting naming decisions in the past, like how there's also a Granville in Frozen North. But
I'm pretty sure there's no connection, but yeah.
Yeah, there probably isn't.
Yeah,
actually, I'm sure there isn't. Yeah. But this is still distinctly subpar for a British ship. That's a lot of guns for 13 points, but I'd rather have Roanoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, much better cargo space and more useful ability. After that is HMS Malton, which kind of makes me want a milkshake for some reason. Just malt shop. It's an S-boarding ship, but aside from that, it's pretty average for 4-master.
Yeah.
Actually, this feels like an SE box ship.
Yeah, it does, actually. Good point. Yeah, the point cost in cargo and speed, especially, yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool. I don't know. I like a lot of the ships from this set, like, regardless of how good they are. And the artwork, for me, is part of the reason I like this ship. Really clean sails, a nice, like, blue trim along the bottom with a nice, like, perfectly white hull. It looks like a French ship, for the most part. It looks like some of the French ships in the later sets. Really beautiful. Anyway, I'm getting off topic a little bit. S-boarding in combination with all those 3L guns is decent, but in comparison to like the Brett Walda or the Interceptor, it's just not as good. So looks nice, but doesn't perform quite as well as she looks.
Me too. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that pretty to look at.
HMS Caledonia. This one might seem super dumb or like just boring, but it does have a distinction of being one of the only ships with at least 4 masts that has a single
under 10 points
total. Yeah,
I think El Ballista, the Spanish version of Morningstar. I want to say, is the Spanish version of Morningstar 9 points?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that one's really
okay. Good. So this is like one of 3 ships that at least I'm aware of that's under 10 points.
Yeah, the ship in a bottle, Kestige. Wolf won the stats contest for that ship. And that one has like an 8-point cost, which is weird, but that's not. I mean, it's official as of the community, but not as of WizKids. But the Caledonia, the ability is like literally as specific as it can get. It
it's garbage.
The Jade Rebellion ship. The ship may load as much of that ship's treasure as she can carry. So ludicrously specific. You'll never use it. But those.
And it's got such a small cargo space that even if you found yourself in a position to use it,
exactly.
You can't.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this ship, the artwork is cool. It's nice and pretty. But basically, you're getting 4 decent cannons for 9 points, so it's not a bad deal, really.
It's not terrible. It's not super exciting. I don't think I'll go out of my way to use it unless I feel like intimidating my play group by going, look how many big ships I got, and they look and it's El Ballista and it's HMS Caledonia.
Yeah.
It won't have Spanish Morningstar because I can't afford that.
Yeah, $20.
20. I think there's one on eBay right now for 50.
Oh, well, I've seen, I don't know, there's some seller, I forget the name, but
Let me know if you see one for 20, and I'll
Yeah.
snap it up in an instant.
maybe they're gone now. Might be thinking of like 2014 or something. Yeah.
Probably. That ship's
Yeah.
because there's multiple Morningstars on eBay for $50 right now.
Wow.
But all from the same guy though. Anyway, HMS Caledonia in particular, yeah, that is frankly a pretty big ship for the price, and
Yep.
I think it's largely justified because I think it has the best firepower of those under 10-point ships of this size or bigger.
Yeah.
After that, we're gonna look at HMS open up HMS Galapagos, which actually has pretty solid firepower, but it's expensive. It has a not amazing ability, and it's slow.
Yeah. This is a weird one. The ability says it gets plus L to her base move if she has all of her masts. So with a captain and helmsman, you move SLS with good cannons, but then as soon as you take damage, you slow way down to SS. So it's like a good first striker, but after that, it just falls apart really quickly. So it's I don't know. I think it would be quite good at maybe 12 points, but it's pretty pricey to justify using. So I still like it.
Right.
Yeah, I like it, but it's not great. So, like a lot of the ships we've said. So,
Yeah, I'd say Mysterious Islands Hermione Gold plus a helmsman.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
The next one, HMS Cheshire. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Cheshire, you got it right.
Okay, cool. I should know how.
Well, you did.
Yeah, yeah. In this case,
And now you do. You do, and you did.
Yeah. This one is almost the same as the Madagascar, the pirate ship. It's like a SL speed, reverse captain ability, with below average cannons for decent cargo. So same stuff applies here, I think.
It looks like a bad version of HMS Lady Provost to me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because England doesn't have a lot of Gold Runner options, and Lady Provost is, correct me if I'm wrong, the same cost but has a bigger hold space, and it's a schooner.
Yeah, 13 points, but almost the same.
Okay, so it's cheaper. It has the same move and a big hold space.
And better ability.
And they both have irrelevant armament anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't like it. I mean, as you pointed out, the ability is useful for a Gold Runner, but this just isn't a good enough Gold Runner to really warrant using.
Yep.
First Mate Ismail plus Helmsman and me, well, then you're making the ability redundant. Yeah. So, First Mate Ismail plus Explorer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I say. Okay. After HMS Cheshire is one of my favorite two-masted ships. I'm glad I get to start off by talking about HMS Prince of... Oh, God, I can't pronounce that. Yeah. I think Chichester.
Okay.
Chichester. Somebody British in the comments correct me.
Yeah.
It's really expensive for a two-masted ship because it's 13 points, but it has... And it also features kind of an average move, but it has an awesome ability, great hold space, and top-tier armament. This is actually a pretty nasty ship.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the best overall two-masters in terms of, not cost-effectiveness, but just in terms of purely how good it is. It outperforms how big it is, because it's a really small ship. I mean, it looks diminutive. I've always thought the blockade running ship tape was so tiny that it looks kind of... It's even smaller than the square-rigged two-masters and the two-masted schooners, but this one really holds up her end of the deal.
It's about the size of a one-master, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it does way better than that. This one, I'm amazed by the crew combos, because I remember a couple years ago coming up with like a lot of good crew combos for this ship, and it's just like it's almost endless because it's a perfect hybrid, and it's just. There's just so many great different crew options you could put. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. You can do something like Hermione Gold and Trevor Van Tyne, so you get an extra gun, you get more move speed, and you get captain.
Yeah.
You can do You can do World Haters. You can play with First Mate Ismail.
Yeah, Ismail,
England has quite a few good abilities.
Yeah. I think one setup I did was Trevor Van Tyne and then a Marine. So then you got like a 4-gun ship at 2 masts.
And you had that powerful defensive ability. So they had to either hit you with L-range guns or ram you. But if they ram you, they're in trouble if they don't have the ability that forces them not to be pinned.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this one is funny too because I did a fleet challenge where I finagled. Speaking of crew setups, I managed to get Davy Jones from Ocean's Edge on this thing. So, or I think it was him, not Captain Emperor Blackheart, but either of them would work. But yeah, I get Robinson and some other wacky crew aboard, and it gets crazy. Yeah, Robinson, and then Brother Virgil. He allows other crew of other nationalities aboard. So, anyway, the next one I like HMS Hibernia. The cannons can't be limited if derelict she cannot shoot, but then if you put an Northman aboard, you get rid of that. So this ship, it's really, I'll be honest, it's really expensive for what you get. It's not worth it, but in a bigger game, it's pretty fun to put a Captain Helmsman aboard and then get dismasted, and then you're moving around at SS with 2 out cannons still shooting when, I
think.
Derelict.
Never mind, you're right.
Yeah, when dismasted. So it's cool. It's one of those cool little things, but it is. I'll admit it is really pricey for you get.
Yeah, compared to Chister, I'm going to say, which we just talked about, at the same point cost, it's not really comparable.
No.
Although it is an interesting novelty in bigger games.
Yeah, exactly.
Support that. Yep. Right after I talk about HMS Gallen here, I'm going to grab a second drink whilst I let you voice your thoughts, which probably won't be all that long, considering this is not an amazing ship at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of cheap for an 8-master. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Reminds me of HMS Mayfair from next set. Same point cost and speed and cargo and a similar ability. Jade Rebellion crew can use their abilities on the ship. Other than Keon Ing, there's not really much the Jades have to offer the English because they already have really good name crew. So I've never liked this ship. The artwork is kind of boring compared to the other ones in the set too. So she's not good or interesting in any way, really. HMS Resolute, this one I'll never like. It's a super boring ship. +1 to boarding rolls, just average in every other way.
Below average with hold space.
Yeah, the cost should be like 6 or something. It's just not very good. So.
Yeah, no, actually, 5 wouldn't be too far out of line because HMS Marisman from Spanish Main is 6, and that at least has a fun ability. Yeah, this is a 5-point ship in a 9-point pair of shoes, and I wouldn't be mad at anybody for burning their copy of HMS Resolute.
I would.
Well, yeah, because it is, I guess, rare and save it for completionists.
Yeah,
and or at least save as charred remains for completionists. Anyway, HMS Discovery is okay. It's got a good gun. It's got a good move speed. It's not too expensive, and it has a decent ability. But it's still a 1-masted ship that can be made derelict with a single ram.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's decent as far as 1-masted sloops go. I guess, I don't know, like maybe empty Gold Runner with a flotilla on the back to protect it.
Flotilla is a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Maybe.
SAT plus the flotilla?
Yeah, actually that's a pretty good idea, definitely. That and also if you're farming Mysterious Islands, the reroll could come in handy, I guess. So anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. William Dampier, so we're into English crew now. It says pirate crew can use their abilities on the ship, which is nice, and then he has the SAT ability, so for 5 points, basically the same as Warlord Cavendish, but for the English. Good crew. They have better sources of SAT, and they don't really need many pirate name crew. There's some good ones they can use.
They have Virgil if they want.
Yeah, exactly. That too. Yeah. Dampier is good, but you don't really need him in smaller games.
He's just kind of redundant.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
James Cook, though, I would like to say, is... Okay, I think this is actually a pretty powerful ability because for the longest time, I didn't notice that it basically unexplores the island for your enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all right.
Well, I mean, that ability, the unexplore thing is not super useful, but the ability to explore without wasting a turn, or, mark as explored, is, I can imagine, pretty useful in bigger games.
Yeah, it's okay. I've tried it. I've had the same theory, but it doesn't work as well as you'd think. I don't know. It kind of works out weird where, like, it just doesn't work that well. It doesn't have, like, a big impact, I guess. But I used HMS Kirkwall in my Economy Edition game, and it didn't... I mean, it helped a bit. It kind of saves you time a little bit, like, down the line when you're going to the islands. So you don't have to explore them, but it's okay, but I don't think it's that great. I think it should have been 2 points. I do like how James Cook, they made him a crew because he was so important historically, so I like that aspect of it. The next one, Ken Wong Cho. 2 points. Jade Rebellion crew may use their abilities on the ship. Like I just said with the Gallant, other than Qian-Ying, they don't really have much to offer the English, so pretty much totally irrelevant. I would say a waste of a crew. They should have done something more unique with this.
Yep. Alrighty. Hidden Cove, I'll let you share your expertise on.
Yeah, this one is crazy. I've already talked about how events should never have happened, and outside of the Vassal tournaments, I ban them. I don't play with them because they're so OP. And this one's almost as bad as Mermaids. You get the jump on an enemy ship and knock them out, or start exploring. You can use it with all sorts of good stuff like UTs and all sorts of stuff. Altar of the Loa and Lost and and then you just use it as a springboard to like jump way farther than you normally would be able to. So Wolf, people have probably already seen this, but it would be better if it said dock one of your ships at the nearest explored wild island. But when it's unexplored, you can just use it as a first turn springboard, which is almost exclusively what it's been used as to win tournaments all the time.
Yep, I can see this. Like, even if you don't use it for your first turn, raid the first island, go home, drop off your gold, and then use it to save time getting to the second island.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. After Hidden Cove, I'll talk about Colin Maberly for not all that much time because that's not a useful ability.
Yeah, treasure trading with an S is a gamble and not nearly worth 3 points. I think it could be 1 point.
Yeah. He looks like he has a 1 point face.
He's
I hope he wasn't modeled after a WizKids employee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been in the book all day, maybe. Anyway. Favor the Gods is the next one, another event. This one is just stupid. I just hate events. They basically
it's an anti-event event.
Yeah, they put this into the game to make up for Mermaids. So, like, it's literally WizKids admitting the massive mistake they made with Mermaids and other events in Revolution, and put this in to fix it. But then it just makes it then you have to have this in your fleet too. So back in the day, you had to have Mermaids to be competitive. Then you had to have Favor the Gods to stay competitive. So there's 5 points you have to spend on these two events just to like win tournaments. So it's just awful. They should have banned events. So stupid.
Yeah.
Hey, this is like my version of like the faction bonuses for you. Like I'm just gonna hate it every time. I'm just gonna rip into it without abandon.
It's your signature move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's my signature, like, annoyance, basically.
Yeah. Alright, let's see, what was next? Was it La Voz de Dios?
Yeah.
Okay, was it your turn or mine?
I did Favor the Gods, so you can go.
Okay. Alright, so La Voz de Dios is another case where they waste broadsides on a ship that has a 4-rank gun.
Yeah, it's almost like...
Ever.
Yeah, almost the same ship as the Lady Scorn, just slightly faster with 1 less cargo.
Yeah, just that.
Yeah, two similar. Yep.
Strangely, yeah, actually, they weren't all that creative with this set, if you think about it.
I think they were, but not with 5 Masters.
Well, no, think about how many of those Jade Rebellion ships have that
Yeah, the
ability where you
+1,
can,
yeah.
against ships previously shot at, and then this basically is Lady Scorn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the Lord Kettering wasn't very exciting. Yeah.
yeah, and I think Monkey's Paw is basically this, but with fear instead.
Yeah, pretty similar. Yeah, yeah, I think they were creative. I think the set is really balanced. I think it has great balance. There's not a lot of crazy good or crazy bad stuff, but the Five Masters were definitely a letdown. We'll see a good one later. But anyway, Santa Ana. Next one of the better Spanish ships in the entire game.
Did you say Santa?
What?
It's December.
Oh, oh, great.
Did you say Santa?
Yeah, totally. Santa Ana. This one has extra action built in, like the Titan. This one's 4 masts. Very good cannons. Has good cargo. Big point cost, but it should because it's so good. I mean, it's just a really great gunship, and just really effective.
It's a good hybrid too, honestly.
Yeah, not bad. Yep.
That ability is useful no matter the role it finds itself in. It does have good armament, good hold space. Yeah, maybe a little bit on the pricey and slow side, but that's just because it's Spanish. Because that's just kind of how Spanish ships work. Let's see, I'm going to read Principe, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay, I think this may actually have one of the longest names of any ship in the game.
Yeah.
But El Príncipe de Asturias. Yeah, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation.
That's how I've said it.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's right.
All right. It does have a good ability. It does have, which actually meshes pretty well with its armament.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not too expensive. It does have a great hold space. I think this is probably one of the most underrated schooners out there because you can basically outfit it to either run gold or have quadruple 1L guns.
Yeah, I think it's a good hybrid or a good gunship overall. I've always liked this ship quite a lot. It was one of the signature ships of my experimental cumulative game in 2016, January. I like it quite a bunch. Oh, and then the other thing I was going to mention, there was a Spanish 3-decker with the same name that fought at the Battle of Trafalgar. The flavor text doesn't talk about that, but I think the name hopefully it came from a historical ship. So, yeah, even if there's not a flavor connection. So I like that too. But yeah, this ship it's quite good. I like it a lot. So
yeah, I'm not sure if I've posted the top 10 schooners list, and my memory may be faulty, but I think it might have made the list.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because it is an excellent ship.
Yeah, it is quite good. Yep. Next one, Habana. This one is cool. What's the one? There's some ship that's like almost identical.
It's Destiny. I talked about it earlier.
Similar.
It's basically Destiny with a slightly slower move speed, but more accurate guns.
Yeah, more cargo. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
So it has the sniping ability. 8 point. I like this ship a lot. It's just like a cost-effective gunship. It's never going to be amazing, but it's quite effective for 8 points.
Yeah, I've actually got to write this ship down because I'd like to see if I can make a Spanish version of the American fleet that I most recently played that used Destiny and a flotilla.
Huh, nice. Yeah, I'm using the Destiny and Basilisk Campaign Game 3 right now. But I usually like to have ships with at least SL speed to tow flotillas.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I like it though.
Let's see. I feel overall the same way about it. It's actually, now that I know that it's basically better than a ship that I've used, I kind of feel like I have to use it now.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. After I talk about El Alchemista, I've got to use the bathroom because I've downed 3 hard ciders and a large glass of water, and I'm on the edge of my seat. Yeah. But El Alchemista has what I think you would consider one of the most powerful abilities in the game. It's got a good move speed, reasonable armament, solid point cost, and good hold space.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such an incredible ship. I've used this one a ton.
Jumping up to let you talk.
Yeah, she always does great. I'll keep going. I like usually just a good old gold runner, maybe a helmsman. I will say, kind of like the USS James Madison, which we'll see later. This is a pretty decent ship for a chieftain, a tribal chieftain, if you're using native canoes. The Spanish canoes cost 9 points. This ship costs 11. So then you could put the chieftain aboard. And then you have the +2 gold ability of the Alchemista. And then every single Spanish canoe has the +1 gold ability. So you can go crazy with the gold bonuses to really rack up your gold score. And then you still have 2 points left over for a helmsman, so that's nice. Then you'd only have 2 cargo, but it's still a solid combo. And the other thing with the Alchemista, I haven't used this one as a hybrid yet, but with more cargo space, you put a captain aboard and nothing else, maybe an oarsman, and then you'd have good guns and still have a really good gold ability to be a solid hybrid. And then I'll continue the next one, La Annunciata. This one, I've always thought this was overrated. I don't know if it's because Wolf likes it specifically, but
Wolf likes it, so I don't.
yeah, it's good. It has this tailor-made combo with Keon Ing because it says Jade Rebellion crew can use their abilities on the ship. So you put Keon Ing aboard with a captain for that perfectly fills up the cargo hold and the point cap space at 7, and then you eliminate cargo with the shots. But that's the best way to use the ability. But overall, it's not great. I would say maybe captain with a flotilla behind it is maybe the better way to go, possibly. But it's good. It's not great. I think it's slightly overrated.
The Spanish probably have better options for flotilla tugs, because honestly, the ship's only real advantage is its speed.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess it's more durable than any of the One Masters that they'll have with this speed, but it's still nothing special, really.
Yeah, the San Salvador or the Monarca from earlier sets would probably be better for flotillas. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And La Monarca actually makes for quite a good gold runner.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to flotilla tug. San Agustin is, aside from its, I guess, fair point cost and good cargo space, pretty average.
Yeah, I've never liked this one. She reminds me of like the Gallant because she's just not that great and her artwork is boring. Yeah, the cargo's solid. Not a terrible gold runner, but really not very good. So the next one I love, Algeciras. This one is the first version. The Ocean's Edge version is far more popular. It is a little better than this one. Of course, way more common too. But this one is a home island raider. 11 points for a 2-master with 3 cargo, SL speed, and ranked 2S guns overall. So I like it quite a lot. I usually don't put much crew aboard. Usually just a captain, maybe an oarsman as well. And then you have space to raid enemy home islands. Maybe even explore wild islands or raid enemy gold runners. It's kind of an expensive small hybrid, but I really like the ship a lot.
I don't honestly like this ability on ships that don't have much cargo space. I know there's only so much use you can actually get out of them, because if you try to raid, say, 3 or 4 turns in a row, by that time something nasty will have come back and gone, hey, get away from my home island.
Yep.
But I mean, to be fair on it, it probably has just the right amount of hold space to use that ability. It has great guns. It's fast. I'd say Luis Zuan, the 2-point captain plus a helmsman, is probably the ideal setup for this. Super fast. It's a home island raider and a great little interceptor gunship.
Yeah, it's good. Kind of underrated too. I've been trying to bring attention to her the past year or two. So anyway, I'll probably keep doing that.
You're probably right. San Leandro, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it says rare on here, but I'm pretty sure that this card is actually a common, which makes it kind of a strange standout as a common one-masted ship, because I'm not sure those exist outside of this set.
I think El Raton from the next set is the only other one I can think of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So funny. It's El Raton Spanish as well?
Yep, exactly.
So only the Spanish have common one-masted ships. That's strange.
What we'll have to find out is next set review. We'll see if El Raton is also 068, maybe with some kind of numbering problem.
Ooh, that would be really weird if it was.
Yeah, 068, something about it.
Yeah, then we're gonna have to check every set to see what's wrong with 068 and why it's a weird ship. Why do I feel like there may actually be some sort of weird trend with 068?
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Well, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But as for San Leandro, it's not actually a very good ship because it's expensive for a one-masted ship, and its defensive ability is negated by the fact that you can just ram it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Gosh, ram it.
Yeah, that's why I like doing it with ram damage. You make the ship so much better immediately. Yeah, it's all right. The cargo ability, speed, and cannon are good enough to warrant usage once in a while, or maybe with a flotilla. But yeah, it's quite pricey for the output you'll get. The next one, speaking of long names, Almirante Dos Pavoni Miranda, one of the longer names. Not as long as the Marina Rivera, whatever, from CC. That one's a nightmare. This guy gives Captain and Reroll, just like Calico Cat and Cat Sora Chan, but I think this is the only time the Spanish got those abilities on one crew, so this is something they needed, and it was good for them to get this. So a good combo with the Santa Ana from this same set, and he also links to all Spanish ships, which is really nice. So then that would help that ship be a better hybrid and pair perfectly with the extra action EA ability.
That is good. Makes me think of the Spanish version of Virtuous Wind as well.
Yep.
Plus, how many factions have gotten basically this exact crew in this set? The Pirates,
3.
Jade, everybody has gotten a reroll captain in this set so far. So,
not the English, but almost.
Well, yeah, it's true. But aside from that, I think it does stand out by the fact that you pointed out that it is linked to every Spanish ship.
Yeah.
So that makes it quite interesting. Horatio Linares is basically just a Spanish version of Ken Wang Cho, I think his name was.
Yeah.
And we already kind of agreed that he was useless. Pretty much. Let's go to False Treasure, which is a 10-point event.
Yeah, this was my first event.
I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, this was my first event and the only one I had for a long time. It's kind of funny because events are so OP for the most part, but this is the one I got. I got like the weird one. I don't know. It's weird. I'll just read it real quick. Reveal this event at the beginning of one of your turns. Choosing an enemy ship and remove from the game any treasure coins printed with the gold value on that ship. And then you remove the event from the game. You can only use it once. But for 10 points, it's almost unplayable in a 40-point game. It's just really mean, brutal tactic. I know somebody had a game ruined with this. It was Brett B45, I think, something like that. And yeah, it's either mostly useless or game changing. So at least it's not underpriced like the other events, like Mermaids and all the others. You're probably about to say what I'm going to say, so I'll just let you say it.
No, actually, I don't. So I'm definitely not. So you actually say what you want to say first.
I was going to say, whatever his name is, Devereaux, whatever his name is, you could spy, because it's a guessing game called Treasure. Yeah, so you might as well try to look at what they've got, or maybe use Alexandria to see what they're taking from the islands. And you could taunt them that you're going to eliminate it. This could lead to like a game of like Hot Potato where they purposely don't take high value coins or something. I don't know.
God, that's just so weird.
Yeah, it's brutal and mean, but you could like try to coerce them into not taking the high gold. Or no, the best part, you could bluff that Rolling Fog is actually False Treasure and say that you're going to eliminate it, but it's just Rolling Fog. You could bluff. That's a tactic.
I think they'd know because they could look at all the other point costs of what you're playing.
Yeah, in a bigger game, or maybe if you had like face down crew, it would be tough to tell. But in a 40 game, it would be silly. But yeah, like what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, bluffing. I think we could talk about another podcast, but I made a thread about that a while back, and I just think it's like one of the underrated and also like never discussed tactics. I just think it's super interesting and kind of funny. It's mean, but it's funny. I don't know. It's really interesting to me. So anyway.
Actually, yeah, I can't really imagine like filling up a ship with useless generic crew and I mean, I keep all my named crew in their cards, so that doesn't really work as a way of going, oh, look at all these named crew I have. Because everybody goes, no, those are tiles outside of their cards. Those are definitely generic crew. But the thing I wanted to mention is how much False Treasure reminds me of. Okay, so this is going to get pretty tangential. Have you ever played The Witcher?
No, I have not.
Okay. In the third game in the series, The Witcher 3, which is a fantastic game, I might add, there's a card game in the game, like a mini game, that was so popular that the developers turned it into an online card game.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a deck in that card game that was based entirely around using that game's equivalent of events just to mess with people. I didn't expect to win anything.
Yeah.
But if I were to make a fleet that utilized like one ship and then just every freaking event in the game, I might have to do that. Just kind of the ultimate annoying fleet.
Yeah.
Don't expect to win. Just make it really unpleasant to play against.
Yeah. The sad part is you'd have a chance to win if you use like the Banshee's Cry or something. Because then you freeze them for a turn. Mermaids freezes their gunship for a while. False Treasure knocks out their Gold Runner at the end. Like, it would actually be pretty good, which is part of the problem with events. Like, you could almost win with a fleet of events by not hardly doing anything. They're just way too good. It's stupid.
I need to calculate the cost of every event in the game, added up.
Yeah.
At least every relevant one.
Yeah, it's probably like 25 or something around there.
Yeah, and then I could afford to just make a really stupid good Gold Runner.
Yep, exactly.
They could just use High Peng.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, well,
oh god, just make the most unpleasant fleet possible to play against. Anyway.
Oh, I made a fleet like that. I think you may have. I don't know if you saw it or not, but
was that the one built to win the game in like 4 turns?
No, that was a different High Peng, but High Peng fleet. But no, the one I used was like with events and like the Bonaparte from TJC and stuff like that. Like basically all the stuff I hate the most, like in one fleet. So it was like as a joke. Like I would never play this fleet. So anyway.
Me? No, never.
Oh no, I won't. I'm serious. I just captured Le Bonaparte in Vassal Campaign Game 3. I'm playing as the Americans. I captured her from the French, and I'm scuttling the ship because
I actually was about to say, and you're scuttling her?
Oh yeah. No, I don't even want to use her. It's stupid. I hate it. So
that's really funny to me, actually.
Yeah, I hate it that much. I refuse to even use it. So I'd rather use the Ocean's Edge version, which is what I'm using in my other game, Command the Oceans. The French launched the Ocean's Edge version because I hate the TJC version so much. And she sank like a week ago, something like that. So, oh well.
Alright, I'm gonna hop onto Padre Francisco now. Oh, wait, no, I have no reason to because he's just a recruiter. Yeah, so instead I'm going to talk about Rolling Fog, except I'm not because you know more about events than I do. Again.
Yeah, this one, I can't remember if I used this one yet. I may have used it once or twice a while back, but I don't. I mean, it's not that memorable because it doesn't do much. It's definitely not worth more than 1 point. It makes the fog move around, which is a house rule people have used. Not as part of the event, but just as a house rule in general. People like Rolling Fog, like with the icebergs. So yeah, it's probably the least impactful event, but at least it's only 1 point, and it doesn't ruin the game like a lot of the other events.
Well, it is kind of funny, and I'd like to imagine that at some point wait a minute. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, I don't think it'll ever impact a game, but in theory, if you sail a ship into a fog bank and then reveal this, can you move the fog bank with the ship in it?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and I don't see why not. So I'm thinking, but yeah, I'm taking it way too far. I'm thinking about the BC set review with the Nimcha and like a home island raider. So you get the gold aboard, and then you get the ship in a fog bank, and then you start rolling the fog bank, and then you could combine it with Nemo's plans and runes of Thor or Loki to make the fog bank go in the same direction every turn, and then you could get all the way back to your home island in the fog without taking action.
Okay, if there was a version of Nemo's plans for events, which I don't even, I know is utterly broken. But if there was such a thing, this would be the perfect novelty use for it.
Yeah, there is a mysterious island that lets you bring an event from your collection to your fleet, which is
Oh, that's
OP.
yes.
Yeah, that's awful. Exactly. Yes, absolutely awful. But yeah, you could roll a bunch of Fogbanks with that. But yeah. So it's kind of like some of the other combos we talked about. Like we should get like an award for most obscure combos you'll never use, but would be awesome to pull off or something. Anyway, um, I guess. Well, yeah, your turn to start. Actually, the next one.
Lego is okay. This is kind of an annoying ship because the problem is its base guns are 4L and it has the World Hater built in, but that means that you cannot pad them further.
Yeah, yeah, for the most part, yeah. Only if you have like a faction bonus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, you could use something like I want to say it's Roberto Santana.
Yeah, something like that.
But even then,
yeah, no.
it's a bit pricey and just kind of generic in every other way to use.
Yeah, she's not great. Basically all 3L cannons for the most part. Decent speed for a 5-master. I like the artwork. It reminds me of another 5-master coming up that I like even more. I like the ship, but it's not great as 5-masters go. The next one, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I don't want to
Scipion, I think.
Scipion? Okay. I've said similar, so yeah, not too far off. This one is just beautiful, incredibly white sails. The hull is basically like a light cream white. So this ship is basically really beautiful, and that's the only thing going for it because it's not good at all. Crew of any nationality be use their abilities, but the French already have decent named crew, and there's nothing to really exploit with that ability. It's slow and has bad cannons, so nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I might be thinking of Le Bourbon as the but I want to say the ship is pretty similar to that, and I gave Le Bourbon a pass as an underrated type of ship.
Yeah, she's okay. I like the Bourbon better guns and better ability.
Yeah, I don't really remember much, to be honest. I think Bourbon had better guns than the plain reroll.
Yeah.
But as a whole, yeah, Le Scipion isn't. I'd rather have Caledonia.
Yep.
All right. La Geographe, however, is a heck of a lot more interesting because for 1 point more, you get better guns, you get a faster move, and you get a better ability and a crew link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. It's like the poor man's version of the Black Heart, that pirate ship, because it's almost the same, but a point cheaper, cargo space less, so pretty similar. I've never been able to use this ship very effectively, unlike the Black Heart, but I'm sure she's decent. She is decent, but not great. The Link is okay, not because of the reroll, but because he's an S Explorer, and that goes well with fast ships. So with him and a helmsman aboard, this can be a decent, durable gold runner to go all over the board.
Yeah, I think I actually used it not long ago in one of the recent games I played.
Yeah. The next one,
it did its job well.
Yeah. The next one, Le Pluton. I'm glad I get to talk about this one. This is a really weird ship for me. I've like obsessed over this ship to try to figure out how to use her best. She's not great, but I'm always convinced that she has great potential, and she usually dashes my hopes. Basically, she is able to take as much treasure from any ship when she wins a boarding party as she can carry, which fits great with the 5 cargo. The biggest problem is the cost with 15 points and only L speed. It's a really pretty ship with the blue and white sails. The cannons are decent, but kind of weird. 2S, 3S, 4S, 2S. It gets better at the stern again. So it's a decent ship. I like to try to use her with like extra actions, Captain Helmsman. But no matter what French crew setup I have, I usually have like just 1 cargo space short. Because with this ability, I like to have at least 3 spaces open. Because if you only have 2, that's only a 1 coin upgrade over a generic boarding party. So I like to have 3 spaces open when I'm trying to hoard gold. Hoarding gold is actually the keyword would they use with Fitzgerald. So it's really not a great ship, but I'm always trying to figure out how to make her useful. So I like her, but she's frustrating.
Yeah, has 2 good guns, but then 2 not so good. I think the French have this ability in far too much abundance.
Mm-hmm.
The cargo space is good, but the point cost is high and the movement speed is low, and overall it's just all over the board.
Yeah. Oh, I actually I messed up the ability. She has escorting. Sorry, not take all treasure. Because I try to use her with Leander Arnaud from Frozen North, who can take all treasure up to the ship's cargo space. So I try to use him, Captain Helmsman. Then you have 2 spaces left. So anyway, that's just the combo I try to use with her. Maybe I'll figure it out someday.
One of these days I'll get you, Le Pluton.
Yeah.
And your little dog, too. La Corsa is the terrible ship.
Yeah, there's nothing exciting. Yeah. It would be okay with like SL speed, but it's only L. So.
Yep.
Next one, Le Mont Blanc.
A fun one.
Not the flotilla version. This is the ship.
Throw the flotilla behind the ship. Oh.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. This one eliminates 2 masts with 1 hit, but makes it really expensive for 2 masts. That ability just is not fitting, unlike the Endeavor. So it's too pricey. I like the ships. The cannons can't be eliminated better than this ability on a small ship. So, oh well.
Yeah, I do like this ship, and I'd like to put a. Ideally, I'd like to put a sort of Captain World Hater hybrid on it if the French get such a thing. You'd probably know, but in addition to that, Musketeer, just to pad the firepower out more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yep.
Yeah, so you've got this little 2-masted ship that's capable of derelicting a 6-master in a single shoot action.
Yeah, if you get lucky.
Which is really funny to me.
Yeah, it's really a pretty ship too. Yep.
Not a super amazing ship, considering you can get honestly about the same amount of firepower more reliably on ships like HMS London for a point cheaper.
Yep.
But as far as novelties go, sort of a little cat with big meow. Speaking of cat, a cat that is not mine just walked into this room, and it's I just felt like saying that.
Calico cat. Was it
actually
Calico?
Yes, actually, it is a calico cat, and this cat is kind of nuts. So I have to make sure it doesn't start clawing me. Nice. Anyway, Leros, I think, is how it's pronounced, is a pretty solid hybrid home island raider kind of ship.
Yep, great ship. Yeah, sort of similar to the Virtuous Wind a little bit, a little less cargo. This is one of my favorite French ships. I got her a long time ago too, actually. But anyway, that's the story for another time. But yeah, very good hybrid home island rating with good cargo, SL speed, and really good cannons. So reminds me of the Greed's Hammer a tiny bit, where you don't want to waste the great gold ability or the very good cannon. So she's almost forced into a hybrid role, but at least she can play it really well. The next one, this one, it's like the Dervish from...
Why do I think of Hitler when I look at the ship's name?
Yeah, of course.
The Führer.
Yeah. It's like the Dervish, though, from Barbary Coast, because it's really cheap. It has, like, a negative ability and is too slow to do much with. The best use for her is basically...
G Gold Runner.
Yeah, exactly. Just empty. So then you sail out at L, get 2 coins, most likely, and then just sail back for 3 points. Not terrible.
It's Banshee's Cry for people who have self-respect. No, really, I have actually used this ship pretty recently. Nice. I used this ship because I did want a very cheap Gold Runner, but I didn't want to use Banshee's Cry, so I used this. Nice. I think it took basically the entire game to get to the nearest island and then back, having filled its hold up.
Yep.
But
nice.
I mean, it was a very boring ship to use because it is a boring ship. But
I've used it, or I'm trying to use it in Command the Oceans. If the game has gotten so big, the French basically completed their fleet, which means they launched almost every ship in my collection I have for them. So I'm pretty much forced to use ships like this. But she has a captain, so she's gonna fight So, because they're just that desperate for gunships because they ran out of stuff to launch, so they got to use stuff like this. But anyway, the next one. Oh no, you start. Sorry, I keep doing that. Sorry.
Actually, I don't have much to say about Le Argus because it's another ship like, I think, San Leandro, too expensive and made obsolete by the fact that its defensive ability is overcome by ramming. It's a one-masted ship.
Yeah, it is very similar to San Leandro. I didn't notice that before. Just a different, better defensive ability, but slower.
I wonder if this one's common too.
No, it's definitely rare. I remember my card for it. There's not many like that have that error. Alright, so moving on to the crew, French crew. Nicolas Thomas Baudin. This one is linked to the geography. So I already talked about how the link is pretty cool because the geography is fast. The S exploring, like James Cook, it's okay, but it just never seems to work out. It's always like, ooh, I should try this game, or oh, maybe this campaign game I'll actually use S exploring, but it never seems to actually pan out well. So I don't like the ability.
I think likewise we've really talked about this ability already, although it's definitely better than the James Cook instance of it. I think we can skip over Gentil de la Barbinette because he's just a plain 4-point French world hater.
Yeah.
So, Cursed Zone. This is a really weird event.
Yeah. Yep.
You'd kind of have to be very picky about where you put it down, and even then, it's not as good as some other events.
Yeah. Yeah, Becalmed is better, because it has to stay there, and then the opponent can just avoid it. It'd be, I just thought of a really nasty combo. Put it right next to Paradis de la Mer and make it really invincible, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, because if somebody even did roll a 1, I mean, would -2 in that instance, add 2 to the total?
No, not really. No.
Or would it subtract it from the total?
Actually, yeah. Never mind. Good catch, because that's not a good combo. Any die rolls made for the ship.
Instead, it would be an anti-Paradis de la Mer.
I guess, yeah. We may have just made a rules question. It says die rolls made for the ship. So I think it would be made for the ship, but you're attacking the fort. Because you have to... It's almost like the person attacking Paradis rolls for Paradis' ability, I think.
Yeah, it would be...
I'd have to check on that, though. So, interesting.
Yeah, actually, Wolf, if you're listening...
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So, let's make sure one of us remembers to post that in the rules thread.
Yeah.
But Princess Ari Araya...
Yeah. Sorry.
Is... Okay, this is a French delimiter. It is a pretty good crew, but also I haven't found that many uses for it because the French don't have many awesome crew.
Yeah, it's niche abilities, or niche uses, I mean. It's perfect for some of those high peng fleets that are super competitive and super good, because of the crew swapping that happens, like switching crew with you can fit 3 oarsmen on the Cour du Lion, and then, I don't know, it gets complicated, but she's good with those fleets. But other than that, I haven't really used her. The next one, Duel, is another event, 5 points. So you pick 2 crew, one of yours, one enemy, roll a d6, add them to the point cost. It's almost like a crew versus crew boarding party randomly in the middle of the game.
Except it's 5 points.
Yeah, it's kind of cool thematically, but it's not really worth the cost. And you have to have if you're trying to take out like Davy Jones, you got to have like a high point crew to even stand a chance. And then if you lose, it's not only a waste of points, but then you lose the crew too. So it's whoops.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's all good. It's fine.
All right. USS Thomas Jefferson. Finally, at least a vaguely interesting 5-master in this set.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is what This has been what I've been alluding to like the whole podcast.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the only 5-master that has S board?
That's a good question. I want to say yes at first glance. I think
it doesn't have an awesome move speed,
No,
but
wait, the Harbinger from DJC Pirate, the second version of the Harbinger has it.
Yeah, but I mean, as a whole, the fantastic armament and good hold space of this ship are they're quite impressive.
Oh yeah, I love this ship. That's what I was talking about earlier. With like, it looks similar to the Gowl and other some of the other ships, but she looks even better. She's got like the blue trim on the hull, really cool sails that are like white but faded, so it looks like a veteran ship but still clean. Anyway, the name is amazing. Strikes fear into your opponents. S-boarding is fun. Perfect, nice 17-point cost. Good for named crew, but not like ridiculous. So still viable in 40-point games. Lots of cargo for all those crew. Awesome 2S cannons around the board. That move is average, but that's to be expected from a ship this large. And I've just totally fallen in love with this ship, and it's one of my favorite American ships. One of my favorite Five Masters. She kind of reminds me within the set a little bit of the Grand Path, because this armament is almost the same, point cost same, cargo move the same, and then instead of plus
boarding ability,
rolls, it has instead of plus 1 to boarding, it has S boarding, so it's quite similar. Just a short range brawler with the best of them. So awesome. Yeah, I would highly recommend acquiring this ship if you're listening. So
if you play the Americans a lot and really want it, otherwise it'll be a pain in the ass and you won't.
Yeah, it could cost you $10 or more, so be warned.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my turn. USS Appalachian. This one's another really nice looking. It's another really nice looking ship. It looks almost the same as the Malton, the English Four-Master, but it's not actually very good though, because broadsides attack with rank 4 cannon. But I've used this in my campaign games. It's fun to put like fire shot aboard with the 3L cannon, but I mean realistically, it's not very good. It's just good looking.
Yeah, it's not an amazing ship, although I do have a couple interesting anecdotes to share, not necessarily about this ship, but okay, so I have family out in Tennessee, which is the heart of Appalachia, the region of the country. One of my mom's cousins, a fellow by the name of Mark, refers to himself as an authentic Appalachian American, and he is listed in the U.S. Census as, I joke you not, angry man with gun. Don't ask me how I know this. Don't ask me how I know this. But yes, I have a family member who's listed in the census as angry man with gun.
Nice.
An interesting fellow and an alcoholic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyway, enough about Mark. USS Hudson seems to get quite a lot of attention from people as being one of their favorites from the set.
Yeah. Yep.
And while it does have a decent ability, it really doesn't have that great of hold space or armament for its point cost. So I don't really think this is as good as a lot of people sort of treat it as.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite good. The speed often wins games. So a Four-Master with SL speed, combining the armament with that nice crew elimination ability, it's pretty good. It's never going to be a hybrid at all.
It's not HMS Oxford is basically what I'm complaining about.
Yeah, definitely not. But it's quite good as far as the Americans go. And it continues their long line of effective four-masted schooners. They got so many great ones of that ship type. I like her quite a bunch. You're right, though. She is, unlike some of the other ships in the set, she's not underrated at all. I think she's known as the Purple People Eater by somebody or something like that.
What?
Yeah, something like that. Somebody said something like that.
I messed up the song. I apologize,
anyway.
Listeners.
Yeah, it's a good swift gunship, though, quite good. The next one, I like James Madison. A nice spying ability. I think this one's underrated. I always use this ship as a cargo ship in campaign games. Sometimes as the first, sometimes in the starting fleet. It's perfect for the American native canoes because you have 10 points for the chieftain, and then you still have 3 spaces left over for gold. It's a really good gold running combo for 20 points. And then it has, the cannons aren't great, but they don't need to be. It's a rare example of a good American cargo ship, Gold Runner.
It's still not awesome. I mean, it is pretty quick, but
I think it's awesome.
it's on. I mean, okay, it has an okay ability, but it only really becomes relevant once your opponent has actually started to capture some gold.
Yeah.
There are cheaper
Or you could,
ships with this
yeah,
same move speed and hold space.
yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
good as far as American cargo ships go, because they didn't get a lot of good gold runners, so this is one of their better ones. And you could
Yeah.
use the ability to look at face down named crew if you wanted to check out, see if they have a canceller or stuff like that.
Oh, that is
Gold.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's of decent value to the Americans, but as far as the entire game goes, it's not super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about USS Montezuma?
Yeah. Sure. I love this one. She's good. Not. I mean, I guess I overrate her. I like American blockade runners, just like the four-masted schooners. They got a lot of good ones, and we'll see a bunch of them. We'll see a bunch of them anyway, eventually. Has a good ability. Other ships do not block the ship's line of fire. That's perfect for the 2L cannons, because the L range will help you reach through ships. It's kind of a little pricey, 8 points for 2 guns, but it's good.
It's great backup for Constitution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's about all I can say about it because it's not Executioner. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, basically. USS Valley Forge is just kind of an inferior version of what ship was I just? Okay, Montezuma.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. You're right though. It's just it's okay as far as 2-masted support gunships, but nothing special really. The next one is something special as far as I'm concerned. USS Overton has some of the best guns in the game. 3L, 2L, 3L, but then they're boosted with World Hater to 2L, 1L, 2L. I like using this ship as a pure gunship, not a hybrid. Maybe with shot equipment, Firepot Specialist. Um, as far as just pure cannon fire goes, it's one of the most accurate 3-masters in the game.
Yeah, the one thing that stands out to me is that if you got another World Hater on this, you could in theory have triple 1L guns, because I believe that basically any discrepancy between the texts of an ability allow them to stack almost all the time.
I just don't see it as necessary.
Yeah, honestly, it's not. But but that firepower level at that cost is pretty hard to argue against.
Yep. Yeah.
The fact that it gets it against forts, which a lot of World Haters don't, means that the Overton, I guess, is maybe one of the better ships to deal with certain forts that are not Parity de la Mer.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
USS Springfield, on the other hand, this is another flotilla tug. You can put Minuteman behind this, but I'd still rather use Hannah because I think it's cheaper.
Yeah, this one is bizarre. I just have to take a second. USS Springfield, it's 3 masts, 18 points, 2 cargo, bad cannons, then it's wicked fast, then it has that cheerleader ability, friendly ships when an Estes ship get plus 1 of the cannon rolls. So honestly, one of the weirdest ships ever released. Really only great in campaign games. Other than that, really bad. So.
I would hide. I mean, the use that I see for this in huge games is not just with the flotilla on the back.
No, I mean, in battles, not just flotilla,
Yeah, but hide the cargo master aboard to affect all your ships. That way, it's well defended, but it's also on a fast ship.
Yep.
Put the fleet admiral, whatever his name was, from Barbary Coast.
Yeah, probably.
And maybe Sat as well.
Yeah, I put a tribal chieftain aboard because I had Preble. Yeah. This is Command the Oceans. I put a chieftain aboard, and then I have Preble on the president because that ship has reroll built in. But yeah, it's a good ship to put some extra crew on. Well, sort of. I just don't think I'm trying to think of instances where you're paying essentially 9 points per cargo space. Like how bad that deal is. as far as points and cargo is concerned, is just almost unprecedented. Like 18 points for 2 cargo space. Like it's so bad. It's like comical.
Isn't there a ship out there where you pay 10 per? I want to say it's like a one mast ship.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some one masters. Yeah, I think there's some one masters. I mean, like Solitaire is 17 points for 1 cargo. So there's worse stuff out there, but still though,
Yeah.
for anything 2 cargo or more, 9 points per cargo space is atrocious. So anyway,
there should be a like top 10 list of most that you pay, like most points that you pay to get X amount of cargo space.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just like ratio of points spent to cargo space is gotten.
Yep. Yeah. I'm always amazed by the bombardiers have the worst like point to mast ratio because they're like 20 or more points sometimes. Like the French ones are 21 points for 3 masts. So you're like 7 points per mast. So
not pleasant.
Yeah, I'll move on to the next one. I like this one a lot. USS New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's like the Philadelphia from Revolution. You own any derelict the
Only
ship
it's a legit warship.
Both ships become docked at your home island. And then, unlike the Philadelphia, though, this one actually has really good cannons, so you could... it'd be better if you were behind enemy, or behind the front lines when you did this, but you could finish off a ship and then explore it the next turn, most likely, and then bring it home. So, it's a good ship.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this only one more point than Philadelphia?
Yep, exactly.
So it's basically just a better version of Philadelphia.
For the most part, yep. Philadelphia's a little faster, so you might be able to get more derelicts with it. But
yeah, but at the same time, you might be able to make more derelicts with New Orleans.
Yep. I like putting Musketeer on the New Orleans. That's what I did in CG3 right now. So then he's got 3 cannons. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. USS Annapolis is actually a pretty good bare bones Gold Runner, and if you've got the American Cargo Master in play, you can afford to just throw the helmsman aboard, and you've got yourself a nice little ship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is another great Gold Runner for them that always gets used, especially in the campaign games. Very good. Next one, soaring to American Crew. Commodore Matthew Perry is a 0 limit ransom +5 crew, so we already talked about them. Great for the Americans to get one. They can compete with the big 4 factions a little more effectively. I was going to move on to Gus Schultz, though. Can randomly take a treasure from any ship she touches for 4 points. This is a 2-point ability, so it's just a reverse power creep, inflation, bull crap. And then, of course, the other version of him is Eternal for 2 points. So this is a very bad crew and forgettable to the extreme.
Yeah, I think he summed it up pretty well. So I'm actually going to start talking about Pierce Hollow. Actually, I'm not really, because it's a 2-point reducer. I started talking before I'd read his ability, because I do that a lot. So instead of talking about Pierce Hollow, I'm going to talk about Fireworks, because we don't need to talk about the Firepot Specialist. Fireworks is I don't know. Can you see this being a fun pairing with Nemo's plans, or am I just trying too hard?
No, that's absolutely, yeah, super firepower. Yep.
It's like even a super better paired it with power cannons.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Or, wait, I wonder if Nemo's plans only applies to one.
I think it's all of them. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, should be.
Well, either way, I have some ideas now.
Yeah, nice. Next one, Rotting Hull. The ship gets -1 to her cargo capacity, and then you can repair it to eliminate the UT, but pretty boring. It's a negative UT to slow down Gold Runners a little bit with the gold, but nothing else.
Yeah, if I'm going to use UTs, I'm going to pick something a little bit more chaotic than that.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, there are some pretty nasty ones in this set alone. The next one, Jade, is actually a pretty interesting one, because I'm guessing that if you save this one until you've got a super high value, just sort of a super high value gold load, and I see nothing about sort of eliminating it, so I'm pretty sure this is reusable.
Yeah, you can choose not to unload it. Yep.
Yeah, so I think if you use Jade, if you've got like 3 5s on board, you've almost got a game breaker in a 40-point game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. I wrote a review about it earlier this year where I tried to come up with the different combos. It's actually, if you manage to pick this up and transfer it to a different ship, you can actually make use of Gold Runners with really low cargo holds, like maybe the Discovery even, because this takes up a cargo space, and then you'll have like 1 or 2 left. But since you can only double the value of the lowest gold value, you're actually inclined to only take 1 coin as long as it's high value. So you could get more profit off of an island if you took a 7 and doubled it than if you took the entire island if the other coins weren't as good.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and then another really crazy combo, I haven't used it yet in a game, the American native canoes can flip this between them, and they have 2 cargo spaces. So if they each have a coin, and they each have a cargo space open, you could dock one, and then the one behind it that's still about to dock uses the ability to grab Jade, docks, doubles that coin, and then you just flip it on down the line. It's ridiculous.
That's real crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Would I be right to say that Savage Shore's Master Bianco and the Spanish native canoes could also replicate that?
Kind of, but they can't. They don't have the flipping ability like
okay,
like the American canoes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you'd have to transfer it manually. But
would one almost say that if you get Buscador next to them, that it might work? Or
with Hoist, maybe you could maybe do that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think just kind of works better with
I don't
America.
think canoes can have their cargo space increased. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's another point against that. If you have anything more to say about that, you can, or you can do Volcano.
Oh, yeah, Jade is great. I originally thought it was smuggled goods and spices. I didn't realize you could choose not to unload it. I didn't read the ability fully until I got the card. It was one of the last pieces I needed to complete my South China Seas set of this set. I still need a couple of the LE turtle ships, but I'm almost done with the set. And then Jade was one of the last ones I got, and then I read it and I was like, wow, you can choose not to unload it. So that changed everything because it's a lot better than spices and smuggled goods as a result. Volcano, this is really underwhelming for the name and the picture. It says when revealed, eliminate 1 random treasure from the island and 1 random crew from every ship docked to the island, then remove Volcano from the game. Really underwhelming for like what it is. It could be like a catastrophe UT or something, which is OP. I have a Hurricane unique treasure that's like really overpowered, but anyway, I just think it's kind of lame for what it entails flavor wise.
Yeah, it's just really
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to cause chaos with the UT, get Wolves or Missionary. Ignore Volcano.
Yeah, or Plague.
Because and because all of those are more common.
Yeah.
And more destructive.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to do a house roll where any ship docked at the island gets a fire mast or something like that.
That'd be an interesting one. Or if the effect was permanent, or like by that I mean
it stays there
every time somebody. Just basically turn it into sort of an adjunct mysterious island.
Yeah. It's almost
like those plans for that.
Yeah, since they remove Volcano from the game, it's almost like a one-time eruption. But maybe you roll a d6 and that's how many turns the effect lasts for. So it's like it's a big eruption, or like maybe 2 turns or 6 turns or whatever. Anyway.
Well, that does make me wonder how Nemo's Plants affects a lot of negative UTs like this, or like Wolves, Missionary, Plague, Rotting Hole, Albatross.
Yeah, some of them it would affect. Some of them don't get loaded by the ship, so they can't be reused, but some of them work. I don't know. But Volcano is one I find interesting from a customs perspective, because you could come up with a ton of like new abilities for the same idea of a volcano, like measure LL from this island, and like there's like lava, like ash that falls on your ship like 2L away and like sets it on fire, stuff like that.
Yeah, every ship within LL gets a fire mast.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Karmic Idol is potentially a sort of, if somebody does get if you know somebody's going to be messing around with Nemo's plans and all that, this could be a game changer.
Yeah, I've always thought of this one and Jailhouse Dog as fun ruiners, because like UTs oftentimes make the game more fun and like interesting, and then this just like knocks them off. It's like, ah, it's like,
no fun for you.
Yeah, it's just like a party pooper UT, so I don't really like it, but it has uses though. Yep. And then bad maps. I could talk about this for 20 minutes, but I'll save that for another podcast or something. It says when you place bad maps face up on the ship as a free action, the opponent to your left moves the ship to the island bad maps was on 2L in any direction. So I think yeah, I don't know. This gets crazy because you can change the setup, the island setup, which is wacky. And then if both players put this in the distribution, you have multiple islands moving around.
Or if it ends up on the same island twice.
Yeah, that'd be wacky.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could do, if you're using flat Earth rules where stuff that moves off gets eliminated, you could like throw this off the map. And then you could have forts like shooting at each other, like I talked about on another podcast. You could make home island raiding a lot easier. Or you could have, it gets weird in multiplayer because the opponent to your left, if that happens to be like an ally, if you like make like a secret alliance in a multiplayer game, they could help you with it or something. I don't know. It just there's unlimited possibilities, which is one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite UTs. So it's really crazy and fun.
I mean, I'm not sure I'll ever encounter it. I might if one of my play group members decides to have a little bit of fun with it, but I kind of doubt it will. So I'll move on to Albatross because I can't really predict how bad maps will affect stuff. So Albatross is like Plague, but slightly less annoying, but also slightly more annoying.
Oh yeah, it's not nearly as bad. Yeah, I've played with it. It's super obnoxious. Plague can be like a game changer. Albatross is just like really annoying. It's really annoying to remember to roll for it though, like icebergs. Like you always forget to roll for it.
Yes,
and then even when you remember
forget all the time.
Yeah, and then you don't get a 6, so it's just like you just have to roll a die a bunch of times, which is annoying.
Yeah, that it's just kind of annoying, and it's just some extra to remember every turn, and it's not that much fun.
Yeah, no, it's just obnoxious.
Yeah,
you can't unload it, so the bird stays around.
Yeah, although floating between ships can sometimes do some fiddly things with games.
Yeah, I remember I've hardly ever used it, but part of the reason it's for that is because I used it in a campaign game back in a while ago, like 2011 or 2012, one of my first campaign games, and I hated it so much that I've hardly used it since. I think the English found it, and they're my favorite faction, and then it would go to a ship that has like extra action abilities, and then it get a 5, but then this changes it to a 4, then it starts affecting the combat, and it's just awful. It's so annoying.
Okay, actually, wait, I've just remembered something that you may find pretty interesting, and okay, so an albatross is actually somewhat vaguely relevant to my family history.
Okay, another one.
Okay, you can look this up right now. Go onto Google and type in Bernard Gilboy. Basically, a distant relative of mine who tried to sail solo from, I think, San Francisco to Australia in a tiny little boat.
Wow.
But shortly into the voyage, all his supplies got washed overboard. So he was basically floating in the middle of the Pacific with no food, no water. And yeah, and in a tiny boat. So
yeah, I'm seeing it. That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I do know one story, which is really rather interesting. Because he had to find anything possible he could eat, and, you can't really fish with your hands in the middle of the Pacific, he sat dead still when he saw an albatross flying around near him. He sat still, completely still, for quite a long time, I think. Possibly hours, possibly days. But eventually, this albatross, because, they fly such long distances, it needed somewhere to land to rest. It landed straight on his head, as I'm told. And he reached out and grabbed a hammer or something very slowly and clubbed it to death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And
That's
he did
crazy.
he did not end up being the first guy to sail solo from from San Francisco to Australia, because he was picked up starving 50 miles from the coast of Australia.
Okay, yep. Yeah.
So
That's incredible though. You should, yeah, I'm reading about it. It's pretty crazy. You should
Yeah,
like talk about it on the forum or something.
I probably should, just sort of out of relevance. I'm not trying to be boastful because I don't
Yeah.
actually know how related I am to him. But
Yeah. I mean, same last name, so yeah.
but yeah, and it's not a common last name at all. So
Yeah. Wow.
but
Nice.
that's that with albatrosses. And I'm actually gonna have to read up more on that story.
Yeah. Nice. That's cool.
Anyway, you can talk about trade route.
Yeah, this one trade route. Basically, it's loaded face down, so it chooses with cargo, so that's annoying. And then you flip the problem is how the rules work. Wolf has confirmed a while back that when it says random, it has to be random. So even if you use this with Devereaux and whatever other spying abilities, it still has to be like shuffled and stuff, which is awful. So I think it should be house ruled. Where it's if you've seen a coin, the opponent has to keep it in that spot, and then you could pick it. But as is, this is utterly useless. Not complete, because you could see with Maps of Alexandria or something, you could watch your opponent take a 7, and then knowing you only have 1s on your home island, you could get a profit guaranteed, but it's too much of a gamble to use reliably. And
what if you combined it with Nemo's plans and just did it turn after turn after turn after turn?
Yeah, you could. Okay, yeah. I never thought about that. Okay.
Just Nemo's plans, cheat your way to a game win.
I'm wondering if you could create a loop with that, because I made that loop comment, and I talked a tiny about that on the podcast last time. It says load it face down. It just says 1 revealed, and then remove it. So I guess you could
trade the entire contents of the home island.
Yeah, exactly. You could reveal this one and keep it in play with Nemo's plans, and just keep trading the coins and just keep going and going, like trade the same coin back and forth, like until your opponent like quits. So
God, Nemo's plans is so game breaking, and it's so funny. And the reason why we don't call for it to be removed is because you have to get lucky and find it, as well as the thing that breaks the game.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like it's fun to think about. It always comes up, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's because it allows you to take these really silly, game-changing effects and take them to their utmost extremes.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, from trade route, pension. Is this basically like, was it bloody gold or blood money, but something you can activate at your home island?
Dead Man's Chest is like the better version from the Caribbean set, basically.
Okay.
But the key with that one is, I'm pretty sure it's not loaded face down, and then that one you can eliminate crew from anywhere in your fleet. So that's where the gimmick fleet came from. I don't know if you've seen it. Lord Stu basically made a fleet. It has 16 oarsmen. So if you get Dead Man's Chest back to your home island, you can stack all the crew in your fleet for like an instant win. So it's so dumb. It's like one of the cheesiest fleets ever, but it's actually pretty brilliant. So, but this
much broken stuff in Caribbean.
Yeah, this one is not good though, because it's only from the ship it's on, and it's loaded face down. I would say this one is pretty bad actually. So
yeah,
maybe like the Bouchuan, like a treasure ship with like a ton of oarsmen. Oh my God, you could have like 25 oarsmen. And then
way back when we talked about Ghostly Encounter, I tried to do something with the fleet shortly after. I'm gonna have to rework that and figure it out again. But basically, it's gonna involve taking Ghostly Encounter and basically giving a ship about, I think it would end up being 20 or 30 points worth of gold from just one UT.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
The next one, Pandora's Box. It's crazy. It says when revealed, each player must choose and put a unique treasure from outside the game aboard this ship. So this one is crazy because you can bring in whatever. It's supposed to be a treasure that's loaded onto the ship, so stuff like Altar the Loa, is not, not supposed to be available. Like Volcano, I don't know that I don't know about that one. But even like some of the other ones, like Plague, obviously. I had there's weird situations sometimes where people will want like goodwill. So you can start a trend in like a big multiplayer game where one player gives the person with Pandora's box like power cannons to like help them, and then other people feel like pressure to like do the same thing. So it can actually end up working really well because everybody's like trying to get in your good graces so you don't hate them when they put plague on your ship. So anyway, and then it's just super powerful though, because you could have bad maps like multiplied, or for example. So
Yeah. Actually, wait. What if? Okay, I'm getting a little imaginative here again.
yeah,
Running back to the bad maps thing.
yeah.
What if you combine that with Nemo's plan, so you could just move the island 2L every turn?
I don't know.
I think I'm pushing that, and I doubt that's legal.
Yeah, I'm
But
just not sure. Hang on, let me look at it again. Yeah, well, it says. Oh no, the problem is bad maps is a weird one where it's not eliminated. You just place it on the ship, so it doesn't ever eliminate it itself. That's the problem. Yeah.
Oh, weird.
It's a good idea though. I mean, with Pandora's Box in a multiplayer game, if everybody, like 5 other players, dumped bad maps in, I guess you would move it like 10L, I guess. So,
every turn.
yeah. Or no, well.
Wait, what if you did that to Great Turtle? You could move it 10L plus S.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, faster than the Zeus with Poseidon's breath. And then I'm thinking that would give the opponent to the left a ton of power, because I guess they would move it for every single copy of bad maps that got introduced. They would move it because it's still the player to your left, so they could suddenly fling an island all over the place. But anyway.
Or, I'm kind of wondering if you could make a house rule about if an island hits a ship, is it sunk?
Yeah, or lose a mast or whatever. Yeah.
Or just see if you can expand it to icebergs and just ruin a game. Yeah. Okay, this is a 600-point game, and I just sent an iceberg through your entire fleet.
Oh, boy.
All right. But Pandora's Box, which is what we were trying to talk about, yeah, again, since you said, since this one doesn't say that it's eliminated, can't combine with Nemo's plans, as funny as that would be to put every negative UT in the game on one ship.
Yeah.
I think I did use this one kind of recently. Basically, I did put Albatross, Plague, and I don't remember what else on the ship. Might have been Rotting Hull.
Okay, yeah, nice.
All I remember is Albatross and Plague.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah. Aside from that, yeah, obviously it's a super chaotic UT, but you've honestly had more to say than I could say about it.
Yeah, but, I may even return to bad maps and Pandora's Box on future podcasts. If we do like playing focused podcasts, I'll try to come up with more material on it.
Yeah,
more like obscure combos that are like really crazy and funny.
Yeah, let's consider doing that like 2 episodes after our final set review.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which won't actually be a set review. Dear audience members, you won't know quite yet what our final sort of main release review will be, but it won't be what you're expecting. But more on that later. I think we can skip all the generic crew and start talking about the super rares.
Exactly. Yeah, you can go, because I think I did. Well, I did most of the box.
Oh, okay. Then I'll start off on Monkey's Paw, which is, it's a really average 5-masted ship, and it's got an overpriced ability. It's nothing super good.
Yeah, the only thing I love about it is, well, it's super rare, so that's kind of cool. But the Cursed only got, I think, 3 5-masters, but they barely got any, and the other main factions of the big 6 got a lot of 5-masters, so it's not a ship type they excel at.
Dutchman, Fool's Hope, Spectre.
Oh, Spectre, and then Morning Star, so more than 3, but whatever.
Well, that's still a good point, because now that I think about it, they really have very few, and most of the ones they have are ultra rare these days.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for the Curse to compete in large games with the firepower they have. They need to rely on crazy stuff like Ten Masters and Namazu and wackiness, Davy Jones. But the Monkey's Paw, so it gives them some 5-masted firepower, which is nice. Cannons are 3L, so it's good. The speed is solid too. Cargo and Fear is the problem. So,
Yeah.
the next one, Samidi's Curse, is far worse. Also has Fear, 9 points, 1 cargo, 5S cannon. Although the picture has a 5L, but anyway, either way, rank 5. LL move is great, but other than towing flotillas, this thing is mostly useless.
Yeah, even if you do use it as a flotilla motion device, I guess they don't just have better options, but I mean, do they even have any crew that are able to sort of just be stored aboard a flotilla?
Not many.
Tug?
I guess.
I don't think they have a fleet admiral.
No, they don't. Only a chieftain. An explorer maybe, because it's so fast. You could explore islands before other ships get there, like the Mama Brigid or something.
Yeah, because everything gets where it's going before. Well, the Maman is a weird case where, honestly, its best setup includes just a plain helmsman and oarsman anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not really saving any time with that.
Yeah. I don't know if I was going to say something else, but the Fallen Angel from DJC is a better flotilla tug anyway. So similar speed and then a defensive ability. That's it. So.
El Fantasma is one of, I think, only 2 sources of the ghost ship keyword on crew. The other being, I want to say, is it Ralph David from Barbary Coast?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, which is a terrible crew at 8 points for a not very good ability. Yeah, possibly the worst crew in the game. Oh, okay, a nominee for. Yeah, we should consider a worst crew in the game ranking thread.
Yeah, there's a really bad one in the next set in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you'll actually have to. Actually, I think I'll know which one it is, but there is some really terrible stuff in that. Anyway, El Fantasma, aside from being that, it's a home island raider. This is like 1 point more expensive. Oh, okay, what this is, it's Crimson Coast El Fantasma, but for 1 more point you get Ghost Ship.
Yeah, exactly, yep.
Which is cursed. I guess that's a little bit better, isn't it?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like this version a bit, or a bunch, I mean. The Cursed have 2 better versions of Phantasma, the Sack Captain, and then one of them has like SAT Fear Eternal or something. But this one's still pretty good. I love the artwork, it's really cool. It's kind of like a Cursed, like Blackbeard, sort of. But yeah, it has a nice combination of abilities, and he basically can't die for the most part. Yeah, it's really cool. I like it. The Cursed is the unique treasure from the SR pack. The ship gains the Fear keyword, except that it also affects your ships.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, it's okay, but I haven't used it yet.
The artwork isn't very good.
You don't think so?
I mean, it just looks sort of a bit more cartoony than the rest of the set.
Yeah, it's kind of generic. Yeah, it's alright. Not as good as Phantasma's artwork, that's for sure. Yeah, I haven't used this UT yet, so I can't really say much about it. Just kind of silly, I suppose.
Yeah, it doesn't actually seem very good, especially if you're using it with anything that has a Fear keyword already.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. HMS Superior, we're now getting into some of the LE promo stuff, and South China Sea's promos are still ultra common. HMS Superior is, I feel like we've already seen this ship, haven't we?
Similar ones, yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ships like this, I feel like.
Yeah, this is basically 40% of HMS Swallow, but a little bit more, like 1 point more expensive than it should be.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Or so.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there's other ones
not
that are
HMS
similar.
Swallow. Am I thinking of HMS Dreadnought? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's that ability, but it's a 2-masted ship.
Yeah, it's tough to there's other ones like the Hibernia has 2 L cannons for 4 cargo, so I like that one better.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
for 2 more points, I think it's better.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've never liked this one actually. So
Hmm.
this ship didn't do well. The ship's name, because the Americans got a superior, and it's even worse than this one. So
It's inferior.
yeah, yes, exactly, exactly. Great point. Very inferior. Uh, nice.
So who
Uh,
has superior?
yeah, the English, but not by much. So
Yeah.
oh well. The Santa Lucia is next. 2 hits from the same shoot action required to eliminate one of the ship's mass, so the Accords auto ability, not bad really. The cargoes and guns are okay, but the price and the move are too expensive to justify. And this ability is a lot better, just like the Superior's ability. It's a lot better.
On a bigger ship.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah, exactly, bigger ship, because you can still ram it. It's not a hit if you ram. So, oh well.
At the same time, I do like the idea of putting Joaquin Vega aboard this ship.
Yeah.
Maybe a captain. No, definitely a captain, and either a helmsman or a cannoneer or musketeer.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the idea to its extreme, but I'm having
Yeah.
some fun with it.
Yeah.
And that might be fun to use.
Yeah.
Here we have one of 2 or 3. How many versions of Le Coeur de Lion exist in the game?
I think 2. Only the
Okay.
Wii version. I love
Okay.
this ship so much.
Yeah, this one's actually surprisingly good for a promotional ship because it has really pretty solid firepower, especially for its price, and it has a fun ability.
Yep. Yeah.
Everything else is just kind of average, but
Yeah. Yeah. Solid cargo. I just love this ship. I kind of obsess over it a little bit, kind of like the Pluton. This one's easier to make work well. And part of the reason I like it, it's underrated because the Ocean's Edge version of the ship is better and way more common and also super popular and kind of like a cheesy cop out for people that just add a 2-point gold run at the end. This one's a lot more interesting to use and unique. But probably be interesting to know if it was easier to get. It's probably, I don't know, always so common. This one's probably a little more rare, but it's probably close. But yeah, 7 points. You get a couple 2L guns, 3 cargo. So you have room for maybe fire shot or something else to use at the double range. And then yeah, it's really it's great. So it's good at like short-ish range, but then it can extend that range with obviously a lack of loss of accuracy. But I just love this ship. And then let's say something else. Anyway, I love this ship. Anyway, oh, I love the next one too though. USS Emerald. It has the same ability as the Santa Lucia and the Accords Auto. This one, it's better than the Santa Lucia though, because it's faster, cheaper, and has better guns. So I like a captain and helmsman on this one to make her quite an effective support gunship, actually.
yeah, for the most part, it doesn't have as good a crew selection. Like you can't throw Joaquin Vega on board, but you can make the ship Eternal. And with just a captain and say Ralph David Eternal or the other option, you've got yourself really a very good little support gunship that is basically impossible to just knock out.
Yeah, and then you put Norseman aboard to make it harder to capture too.
Yeah, that too.
You have to sink it. Yeah, that's a really good combo. I like that.
Yeah, there are actually some pretty good ones in these promotional ships.
Yeah. This set was maybe the best for those in terms of like the little promotional ships. Like the ones from like DJC and MI are way more rare and like way worse, but these ones are common, but also pretty good.
Yeah, and also the OE ones are not so easy to find these days, and for the most part, they're also not very good.
Yep.
All right. USS Adventurous is kind of a step back because it's not a bad ability, but it's on a not very good ship.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like an expensive hybrid. Like Captain Helmsman, you have good guns and 2 cargo spaces for gold, but for 15 points, you could get like the Providence with a captain or whatever. So, moving on to the Sister's Rage.
Who has like 9 copies of the ship? Is that Xerax?
No, that's still Vaxry. I don't know if he's offloaded. Yeah, I don't know if he's offloaded all of them yet. He might still have some left over.
I doubt it.
Yeah. This one, S immunity, that annoying ability comes back. Trying trying to think of cool crew combos. Maybe like a musketeer and like trying to think what I've put on it in my campaign game, but I think it just has some normal crew. It's decent, but
let me look up my crew abilities thing real quick to see if the
Yeah.
pirates have any really interesting abilities. Because beyond sort of Hammersmith and Musketeer, I'm not coming up with anything really interesting offhand.
yeah, it's an okay hybrid, kind of like the Adventurers, but a little bit better at being a hybrid.
Okay, let's see. They have Reverse Captain, but that's nothing special. Fear. Oh, Capitaine Cheval.
Oh yeah,
That's a maybe.
yeah, it's okay. I like him with more guns though, more firepower.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, I think maybe Hammersmith. Did you say Joe Card?
I haven't yet, even though he's like
Yeah.
on every single pirate ship I've ever used.
Yeah, you like using those a lot.
Yeah, but
I could make a decent hybrid, I guess. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm still looking through these to see.
Yeah.
Have you found something?
No, in the meantime, we can go back, but I'll talk about HMS Rye because I've used her a lot and I love this ship. This has the canceling ability built in, so of course I'm gonna love the ship. And it's English and it's really fast and it's underrated. It's really useful in campaign games. I like to form like a super squadron with a bunch of cancelers. So any sorts of the canceler ability is really good, especially for like a big faction like the English in a campaign game to help them win and dominate the seas. It's actually surprisingly nasty and versatile with like helmsman, shipwright, oarsman, because then you're always going to be able to row around. Can't be captured unless you take out the crew, and then you can ram the mast off, but then you can just repair with the shipwright, and then it's got 4S speed with canceling, which is really flexible. So if you need a canceler, you can get one out there real quick. So it's pretty cool, and it's also a good flotilla tug.
Yeah, it is.
You could, it's got the speed, and then if somebody's going to attack the Rye or the flotilla, if they come within S of the ship, they're going to shut down the captain. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. I don't actually have anything to add to that because I think you've basically encapsulated it. I don't really think. I don't know. Is it worth me looking through the English crew abilities to see if there's anything that might add on to that?
Not really, because it's not good enough to make it a gunship or like a great gold runner. So,
okay.
The canceling is by far the biggest asset. So, but combine that with the speed, and it's pretty cool ship to have, especially as a fan of the English. It's like, oh, it's gold for an English fan like me. So.
All right. Then we'll move on to HMS Patagonia, which is infamous for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously, it's, I think, the cheapest English ship in the game. Of course, that's part of why it's known for the next reason, which is that if you put Robinson, Administrator Scott Bratley, the 0LR+5 crew on it, and Lord Micron, you have a ship that basically, fully crewed up, costs 5 points net, but gives you the ability to redistribute its own action elsewhere for the entire game.
Yep.
It's part of one of the most game-breaking setups out there, and for that reason, HMS Patagonia has become kind of infamous.
Yep, absolutely. The ironic part is how good it is without that. Because if you actually use the ship and don't leave it at your home island, I know there's better options, but for the English, they don't have a ton of good gold runners. So 6 points with a helmsman for SS move and 3 cargo open, not a bad slow gold runner. And then it's even got a 2L cannon, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So a very good ship overall. Useful in different ways. The Soberano del Mar, this is a Spanish ship. It's got a few good attributes. It has reroll and a 2L cannon, but that's about it. It's not really worth using. 8 points.
Yeah. It's too generic and just kind of too vulnerable as a one-mast ship, and it's not really cheap enough to be disposable.
Yeah.
El Afortunado is Patagonia's Spanish clone, but because Spain doesn't get a Micron crew, it isn't actually as useful. Well, that's not true, because Spain does get a Cargo Master via Master Bianco from Savage Shores. So if that crew's in play on another ship, you can drop a Helmsman on this and turn it into a dandy little S+S Gold Runner with 4 spaces open. You can drop an Explorer on if you want. It's a nice, super cheap, but not ultra slow, but still, spacious Gold Runner.
Yeah, it's not a bad option. Yeah, similar to the Patagonia.
Wait, Luis Swan plus a Helmsman, you can turn it into a tiny hybrid.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yeah, 8-point hybrid. Nice. That's actually a really great use. Nice. I've never thought of that. And even if the Spanish did have a Micron crew, they actually don't have a crew like Robinson that makes the crew cost no points. So they have that. The Spanish don't have that either. They have some crew like Joaquin Vega and Bianco,
which is not useful for this.
Yeah, but they don't have other certain abilities. But the next one, Lake Triomphant, Galley. It has reverse captain, and I'm looking ahead a tiny bit. Well, there's some bad ones coming up, but this is one of the worst ships in the whole set. For 10 points, you get 1 mast, and it's not worth using.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about it, too. It's too expensive. It's good at nothing. And I'm going to start talking about La Belle Poule instead, which is not amazing, because obviously I have to compare it to something like L'Intrépide, which is cheaper and faster, but lacks the explorability. It's not super amazing, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think Bone Marine is the best comparison, because it's 6 points cheaper, same cargo, and does have Explorer. But La Belle Poule is kind of an underrated French Gold Runner, because they have so many good ones. But this one's really not too bad. Need a Helmsman, but that's it. Next one, Floating Stone. Reroll. Oh, this is a turtle ship, so we're into the turtle ship LEs. Mostly Jade, with a couple Pirate. These ones aren't as good as the Jade turtle ships from the main set, the rare ones. The Floating Stone is no exception.
Yeah, it's just really generic and has no real strengths at all. Okay, Sea Snake is next. By the way, I am doing a turtle ships ranking at some point, so that'll be coming up within the next few months. Cool. Now, Sea Snake is worse than Floating Stone.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's nothing really going on here. Nothing too good. Oh, well. The next one I kind of like. Not really, but Dragon's Talon. It's super accurate, but that's it. So it basically has a 2L cannon, and then it has World Hater. So it basically it's a turtle ship with a 1L cannon, essentially. But for 8 points, it's not a very good deal, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Helmsman, and you're still spending too much on it, because at that point you're 13 points for a single gun.
Yeah, single gun. Yeah, you could get the East Wind for 13 points. That little subpar hybrid I like.
Or you could get La Bonne Chance for the same price with just a captain, and that's a pretty good ship.
Yep.
At the same time, I was pointing out El Afortunado, 5 points cheaper, slower for sure, but slower and less accurate, but same size better. And overall better, because you can actually carry cargo with it.
Yep.
Tiger's Paw is
awful.
Yeah, it's just not good, because even if you do take advantage of the pirate crew thing, which doesn't really get you that much, okay, throw a Hammersmith aboard, you still got something worse than even Dragon's Talon.
I just thought of something really nasty. I've never thought of this before. I think I still need the Tiger's Paw. This is one of the few, along with maybe none others, but anyway, this is one of the few I still need. So I don't really know this ship quite as well, but pirate crew can use their abilities on this ship. This is a 6-point ship. Calypso is a 6-point crew, and the Jades have Miss Cheng, a 0 LR reroller. so she wouldn't take
Ooh.
up any points. So you could actually get Calypso in a Jade fleet with this ship, and then just leave it at your home island and make whirlpools, especially with the reroll ability. So it's
That's really interesting. Write that down.
yeah. I'll try.
And like, send me a message once you've got a fleet worked out for that, because that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, it's.
I want to read about that. I always get more intrigued by ideas we come up mid-podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about the podcast is these weird niche uses and combos that we come up with.
Stuff you would never come up with just sitting alone, just reading through stuff going, oh, this is a crap ship, closing the tab, and then never realizing a weird possibility with something.
Yeah, Tiger's Fall is terrible, but I mean, Calypso with reroll and a Jade Fleet for 12 points, kind of a fun option there. The next one, Beast's Belly. This one, the ability
It's another torpedo ship.
Yeah, it's similar to the Glorious Treasure, but just slower, and slightly less aggregate cannon. But it's pirate. Sorry, so it's not even Jade, but it's a decent pirate suicide ship. Eliminate a crew and a mast from the ship that it rams and gets pinned against. So yeah.
Yeah, I would on this ship. Obviously, you need a helmsman.
Yeah.
But I would add on either Sat to help it make a quick strike. Or a re-roller to go for extra ram damage, or maybe even Sat plus. Wait, they don't get a 0-point re-roller, do they?
No. Nope.
Yeah, they're like the only main faction that doesn't get a 0-point re-roller.
Yeah, even the Jade's got one. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Beast Belly is. It would be good if it were, who knows, British.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not great.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's held back from being really good.
Yeah.
So after that is Inferno, and this one's not good.
No, this one's awful. Maybe you could make a case that it's the worst ship in this. Well, I think the Triumphant is slightly worse. But,
yeah.
Almost.
Yeah,
the Inferno looks kind of cool. It's got the flame on the mast. I had this one. It says it sits near Hong Kong Harbor, which is funny. I had this one guard a military port in my Economy Edition game a few years ago. That's all it did, though. It just sat as like a guard ship, so it was too slow to do anything or go anywhere. Anyway, all right. So now we're into the last couple game pieces. Wrapping up, the Baochuan, the first 10 master ever released. Still my favorite 10 master. I think it looks amazing. I like the historical, derivation or whatever from the 1400s and whatnot. Just an incredible ship. There's so much to talk about with it, but treasure ship is a really cool keyword. Crew do not take up cargo space on the ship, though their combined point costs may still not exceed the ship's point cost. Then it can move fast after loading or unloading cargo. So you can load up a ton of crew. I know I have her crewed up hugely. I launched her in Campaign Game 3. I've used her a decent amount. I'd like to use her even more. Link to Zheng He, which I wouldn't pronounce it like that unless I had seen a video about him. So I actually did get that right. And he gives them an admiral crew. So on a 6, you can give any ship in your fleet an extra action, which is nice. So I usually like to link Miss Cheng to this guy to get the reroll on that ability. So it's a really cool ship. I love it. One of the most expensive ships in the game, of course. I like putting Cheng Pao aboard, like I said earlier, because you have 10 cannons. So then if you get World Hater on all of them, you're getting a really good deal for those 4 points. So it's technically a great hybrid, obviously, but you have to spend enormous points to make it effective.
Yeah, you're basically required to either use a 5-point booster or play 60-point or more game to use it.
Yeah, 60 or more is ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, you may have no other ships to use.
Yeah. Exactly.
Something else that I've been playing around with, and I'm going to post this as a question in the rules thread, is some specifics regarding the treasure ship keyword. Specifically, how basically the way links work is for every link you have going, a ship gets one extra cargo space.
Yeah, it does work, I think. Yeah. It's like 11, because the ship has to have Admiral Zheng He aboard, and then it links, but he still doesn't take up cargo space. So it basically you have to have 11 cargo spaces.
Yeah, so technically you start with 11, but you can put Warlord Cavendish aboard, and then you can use Gentleman Jocard, and now you've got 12. And then you can just start getting, I don't know, just some. Oh, I forgot. Warlord Cavendish is linked to all Jade ships, isn't he?
That's Psy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, shopping Psy.
Yeah.
Okay, then put in shopping Psy as well, and build yourself up to 13 from there.
Yeah, and then Miss Chang links. Oh my, this is crazy. We gotta figure out like the max here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try
maximum. Yeah.
I would think maybe 16 or so. Miss Chang Pao links to Miss Chang. So, oh man, yeah, we're gonna have to talk to Wolf about this, and then Dragon Eyes and the Nameless, because they'd be perfect, because then you can capture crew for gold.
There's only so much you can do though, because how much is what's his name pronounced? When I say Zheng He, I'm getting it wrong, but
yeah. Well, I saw in a video it was Zheng He essentially.
Okay.
I used to say Zheng He, so yeah, I know.
Okay, so Zheng He, how many points is he? We're about to find out actually, because we've got to open his card next. But he's 6 points, so that only leaves with 24 points to play with. So some of these super expensive Jade crew, unless, well, wait, the pirates have a 0-point delimiter, don't they?
But it doesn't combo, because no, people have asked that before. You can't break both abilities at the same time, or bring both aboard. So yeah, I think it's basically Jonah's ability overrides the treasure ship keyword, I think. So
yeah, it does, because it forces them to take up space.
Yeah, always does. Yep.
Oh, dang. Okay, but still, within those 24 points.
Yeah.
Well, actually, wait, a 2-point reducer, I'm sure they have, which may actually be useful in this scenario.
That could work, yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, we're going to have to research this, and once we get, if we get a go-ahead from Wolf that says, yeah, you can use links to pad out Balch ones, or other treasure ships for that matter. I think Delusion is the only other one.
Yeah.
Their treasure space. Maybe is Guichuan?
Or yeah, Guichuan is a treasure ship. Delusion is not. Yep.
Oh, okay. I had it backwards. Anyway, Admiral Zheng He. Zheng He. Okay. I'm butchering this.
That's alright. I usually did, so whatever.
Let's see. So he is Fleet Admiral and Proximity Explorer, which is Fleet Admiral and Proximity Explorer for 6 points is really good.
Yeah, the 10 master name crew are usually great, which is nice. Kind of offsets the huge cost of the 10 masters a little bit.
Yeah, because but that's interesting, because if you think about it, the ship does start at 36 points in actual deploying form, but it does technically have 11 cargo. Yeah. Okay. Aside from that, because we can probably spend 45 minutes talking about the possibilities of that alone.
Yeah.
Gale Force 9.
Yep. Yeah, you can go. I started the Bouchon.
Oh, okay. Gale Force 9 is actually a kind of generic ship. It's basically Legiograph, but it ignores terrain. Its guns are okay. Its movement speed is pretty good. Its cargo space is, I guess it's good. But it's kind of like a lot of the really rare mail-ins or offers like that, like USS Denver. It's really nothing super special, although I do expect to use it one day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a cool ship. The speed is the best thing it's got. The ability's okay, but I talked about how it's usually not too useful. They got the logo on the sails there. It does have one of the most unique pictures in the miniature training database. And through my digging on the internet in past years, I found that whole table. I think it was part of a convention or something. It is a pretty cool table. It has like a whirlpool, and then there's like an actual Ocean's Edge Yeah, you can find pictures. Anyway, yeah, the ship itself is decent though, but as pirate ships go, it's not great.
Yeah.
But to wrap up, the set is definitely great. One of my favorite sets, especially over the past like 3 years or so. It's climbed in my favorites rankings. The top three, or the first three sets, are my favorites, but South China Seas has pretty much entered that realm for me, and has probably even surpassed Revolution for the most part, in my opinion, in terms of my favorites anyway. So
Yeah, it's got a lot of really cool stuff. It's got more. I'd say it's better than Barbary Coast, not only because it has more interesting stuff, but also fewer crap ships. As well as having the pirate faction. It's better than Revolution because it has actually relevant named crew.
Mhm.
And I think for the most part, more interesting UTs.
Yeah, for the most part.
That may be wrong to say. And its promo items are definitely better.
Yeah, a lot better. Yep. Nice.
Yeah, but
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm close to getting my full set of South China Seas, but I'll probably get that done after you.
Yeah. I'm close too. I'm trying. The Tiger's Paw I need, and then probably one or two others, but I just can't remember which. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check whatever that is. But
I don't have Gale Force 9 either, actually. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I did get Gale Force 9 kind
Nice.
of lucky. I think for $30 or something on eBay once. So
yeah, it got crazy expensive.
Somebody paid like $90 or maybe more for Gale Force 9 at some point.
Yeah, it used to go for like less than 20 back, a while ago, a long time ago, and then I don't know, this past year or so, it's really gone crazy. So anyway, the Bouchuan is pretty consistent, like between 20 and 30. So I think
it's because they made probably tens or hundreds of thousands of those.
Yeah, they have a lot of those out there compared to the other ones. Yep.
Yeah, there's still a lot of Bouchuans. Never pay more than $30 for one, people.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. Yep. All right, so this was the 5th set review.
It took almost as long as Barbary Coast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, crazy, even without a guest. I know, I thought it was...
And even without reading off the stats of every single ship.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like 2 hours, but oh well. Yeah, so this was Good Set Review, episode 12 of the podcast, and we'll be back soon. So thank you for listening.
Good night.